What's up, guys? It's the Chart Guys here, bringing you guys our 2024 official Worlds tier list. Today with me, I have four of my best friends and some of the best and handsomest card game nerds I know. Aaron and Taylor, this is your first Chart Guys tier list. Welcome. I know that you guys are going to be providing us with some great in-depth discussion. And with me, as always, is Nathan Crawford and William Bradshaw. And so today we're going to be talking about the meta share as well as the viability of the 31 heroes currently in Classic Constructed. As you can see, the y-axis here, we have the viability. So this is talking about the strength of the hero, the card pool, just, their game plan. Are they doing something that's, unfair and strong? But we're also going to integrate the position of the deck in the metagame, just because you have, a strong card base. If the meta is hostile to you, that'll obviously hurt your score. So we're going to be putting that on a scale of like 0 to 10. And the higher it is, the stronger the deck is. Up here on the x-axis, we have the meta share. This is just a percentage. So decks that... This is just a straight percentage. So the decks that are more popular is going to be on the right. The decks that are less popular are going to be closer on the left. And so that gives us 4 quadrants here. As you can see, we have a little legend over here in the corner. So anything here in the pink, this is going to be the contenders. This is the decks that are most likely to win Worlds. These are the decks that a lot of teams are going to be testing. These are the decks that people are going to be bringing. And if you play this on day 2, do not be surprised. Down here in the green quadrant, we have the overrated tier, or the overrated section. So this means decks that we think are going to be represented in the meta, but are not going to be... They might not be the best choice because of their position in the metagame. Normally, there's very, very few heroes that land in this section. If I remember right, Nathan, in our Pro Tour LA tier list, I think we only had KO in this corner, I think. Or maybe it was Levi, I can't remember. We had a Brute here in the corner.
Yeah.
But not too many will be here. In general, we think that most people are going to analyze the meta quite correctly. Over here in the purple, this is the Dark Horse tier, and this is where heroes that are not highly represented, but they have a good position in the meta, or they have a maybe an unconventional deck build that can attack the meta, they're going to go in this purple section here. And the vast majority of heroes, sorry to say, are going to fall into the blue passion section. This is where you would this is where people that are very, very focused on a particular hero that somebody we know, they might put their hair here, but basically they're just not doing anything strong enough, and we don't really expect them to see the high meta share. Last time we didn't even have 31 heroes, but it was basically Arachne and his friends huddled in the corner here. And so we may have to resize some of these just to fit them all in the corner. But okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be putting all 31 of these heroes on this XY chart for you guys. We're going to be talking about every single hero. But in order to structure this discussion a little bit more, I want to take a look at this tab here. So this is the ProQuest winning stats for the last 3 weeks. We are recording this prior to week 4, so we do not have the week 4 data. In fact, when you're watching this, the week 4 data probably is not going to be out. But basically, it's very clear to see that basically there's like 5 tiers. So we have Enigma and Aurora taking up a lion's share of the wins for the season. Florian, Viserai, New, and Azalea all contributing, a decent amount. Dash.io, now, obviously, week 1 and week 2, that she didn't really show up much. A lot of people just waiting for the Dash.io deck. But week 3, she had a good showing, so a respectable amount of wins. And, several other decks kind of rounding out this tier. Everything here in orange, basically, specialists winning small ProQuest, if I had to guess. Or getting very, very lucky, or maybe, some people are like, it'd be very cool to get Fi some LO points and they just concede or something like that, right? And then obviously we have some heroes that didn't win any of the or any ProQuest, right? So I think what we're going to do, we're going to focus most of our attention here on these 7 heroes. And then we will kind of, add in a few more heroes here as well. So the first 2 heroes I think we need to talk about are Enigma and Aurora. And I think this is going to be a good discussion here because we do have an Enigma player. We do have several Aurora players here. So which hero do we think is more meta defining? And we'll talk about them first.
Definitely Enigma. There's kind of like this aggro soup going on right now where there's multiple viable aggro decks, and it kind of comes down to which one, as a player, you are more proficient in, and what matchups do you get slight edges in. But they're all pretty similarly powered. And they all kind of do the same thing of just being aggressive, trying to target Enigma. But Enigma is like the stalwart right now. And I think that what decks are viable, you always have to think about what your matchup into Enigma is. And for a lot of like the slower decks and some of the decks that aren't doing well in ProQuest, it's probably because, number one, it either can't keep up with the aggro decks or it can't deal with Enigma.
Yeah, very, very meta warping deck. Let's discuss a little bit about the several builds that we've seen for Enigma. We've seen kind of a more traditional build that's utilizing some more disruption, a couple D-reacts, trying to land a mirror guy and then disrupt them. Would safe to say, Aaron, would that be considered like the more normal build at the moment?
Yeah. Every Enigma deck is going to be focused on Traverse and Mirror Guy. It's just like one of the most powerful things that you can do in Flesh and Blood right now, and it just fits into no matter what else you are doing. Enigma will be very flexible with her defensive options, so you're going to see a suite of defense reactions and utility 3 blocks, either to protect your ward when you're trying to be aggressive, or in certain cases, to outright play hyper defensively and try and fatigue people. We see with like the Count Your Blessings Enigma variants.
So Enigma has been around since the MST meta, and that was prior to the book banning. This was prior to all the Runeblade cards being introduced. So how has Enigma decks kind of evolved to deal with, now that they're perhaps the most prevalent deck, how has the Enigma mirror tech and the Enigma Runeblade tech kind of evolved in the last couple of weeks?
Well, aggro is usually the best way to beat Enigma, and the biggest advantage that Enigma has right now after the book bannings is that the ceiling on most aggro decks is substantially lower. So when in the previous meta, when Zen was super powerful, Enigma didn't have enough time or the tools to keep him down because he would just kill you in a few turns once he assembled his combo pieces. But all of these aggro decks losing their big ceiling cards with Art of War gone and the books and stuff like that, Enigma has a lot more time to execute the play lines that give her the advantage to beat aggro. And you can see it come into play with the stats, right? Like a lot of the most winning decks besides Enigma are aggressive variants. And Enigma wouldn't be able to have the stats that she does if she didn't have game into those aggro decks. If you think of the normal illusionist triangle in Flesh and Blood, where you have, setup illusionist deck beats slow mid-range control deck, beats aggro deck, beats illusionist. Enigma's beating both sides of it right now, and that's why she's, winning the most in some of these cases and being played so much, is because she has those strong matchups into the slow decks, and those slow decks are trying to target the aggro decks, but she also has game into most of the aggro decks in one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a winning combination, let's just put it that way. Okay, so where would you, now obviously this is the first year we're putting, there's a lot of things that can kind of shift around, but if you had to take a guess, where would Enigma land? And let's just start off with the first question. Is Enigma going to be the most played deck of Worlds?
I think so. I think that
That's
a lot
bad
of
news for
the
me.
yes, I think a lot of the generalist players who usually bring the best deck are probably going to land on some form of aggro deck right now. I think Enigma is a deck that obviously good players can play, but it's a deck that rewards people who are very comfortable with that style or have played the hero a lot. So it's going to get a lot of its player bases from the stalwart illusionist mains, the Enigma players, anyways, and it's going to get some player base from people who just want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. But the majority of the other players who are going to pick aggro deck, there's not a specific choice that I think stands out above the rest. So it's going to kind of fragment those players a bit, where you're going to have some, hyping up Dash.io playing that. Some people really like the consistency of Aurora. You have Viserai, Azalea. They're all going to be kind of evenly split. So as aggro player gets leveled out a little bit, I think Enigma, will kind of rise up. And I do think that she will be the most played deck, or at least in the top 3. Okay. So I would put her meta percentage pretty high.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you think Enigma as a hero will be the most represented, but aggro, when we add Aurora, Dash.io, Viserai, you add them all together, that percentage will be higher. But individually as a hero, Enigma will be the highest.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me know where to place her.
I don't know, just quadrant,
but
just as a starting point, she's definitely in top right. I definitely think she is a strong hero. I think I could easily see her probably being in the 13 to 17 anywhere percent meta for like one specific hero. We can move it as we decide other heroes what we think is going to be popular. But I definitely think she's in the upper scale of power level as well, just as a base value. I would put her at least at a 9 in power level. I actually think she is as good as people say she is, regardless of the perception of her bad matchups. I think are a little overblown for people who are really comfortable with Enigma and know the matchups.
Okay. I guess we'll just kind of stick her here and kind of maybe move things around as we go. Any of the other chart guys have any thoughts on Enigma?
Enigma is the only hero in this game where I have felt hopeless. But in some games, I feel some games, you turn the tide at the perfect time, and it feels amazing, and it feels hopeless for the Enigma. But she's an interesting hero.
Okay. We'll just stick her there for now. The other hero that I want to spend quite a bit of time talking about is Aurora. So this is, for the ProQuest season, has been the de facto aggro deck. The builds at this point are fairly well consolidated. This is the breakpoint aggro deck, coming in with a little bit of mixed damage, a little bit of card draw from CLV and things like that. Has some spike turns, has a flicker wisp combo as well if they need to utilize that. But overall, they're just trying to play out hand after hand after hand and, try to get there. Nathan, you're the one on the team that I think has been... you were the A to Z expert on this, and you were the one that I think has put the most time into Aurora. I know, Taylor, you've also been practicing Aurora as well. Nathan, do you have what are your thoughts on Aurora?
As far as Aurora goes, I think that she's a very solid aggro deck. I think that she is going to have a higher performance in the PQ season than Worlds. I am anticipating, essentially, if you just take the Viserai spot in Aurora, when we get to the Worlds level, they're just going to swap. And the theory for that basis is basically people at a much higher level want agency, and that's the one thing that Aurora does not have, right? If everything clicks together, she draws the right combination of cards, and the deck building has gotten to the way it does the thing, right? But if you're disrupted, it hurts, right? You have a fridge that you can lean on, but it only lasts for maybe one or two attacks. So I think that players just want more agency, and Viserai's kind of got similar output numbers, but in the same 60 cards, you can solve a different problem if somebody presents a different game plan on the fly, right? Like instead of in a race matchup, you just use your Malefics, right? Whereas you can stack them in a slower, more methodical matchup where somebody might be trying to fatigue you or something.
Mhm.
So I think that she's doing a lot better in ProQuest than she will at Worlds.
Mhm.
So I'm probably anticipating the ceiling to be 10% for Aurora. Maybe a little bit higher. She could get to maybe like 12 to 13, but I think that she'll be. Some people will bring her because if you want to be very lazy about your approach into Enigma, it's actually probably one of the easiest answers.
Mhm.
I think people keep telling me that it's a bad matchup, but and maybe I'm wrong on it. I mean, I'm willing to admit that if I am, but I just haven't seen it yet. I just have not seen it yet, and looking forward to see how that matchup lands when we get the Worlds data.
Sure. All right, Nathan. So you said that Aurora, you estimate it's going to be about 9-10% of the meta. You think that this is kind of the lazy answer to Enigma for a lot of players. Where do you think she kind of falls in this XY chart?
I actually pretty much like where you had her.
Okay.
Maybe about 9.5, 10 on the meta share, and maybe 7 to 7.5 for the viability.
Okay, so we'll just kind of right on the the y-axis then. Okay,
not a bad place to be.
Yeah. It's not a bad place.
I'm kind of curious, since we're talking about the aggro decks now, since there's multiple different viable options, what is the most important aspect for an aggro deck to have if you are considering bringing them to Worlds?
That's actually a very, very interesting observation that you made. In the past, it was clearly X deck is the best aggro deck. Why would you take the second or third best aggro deck? Taylor, I think I cut you off. I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so when you're playing at like the Worlds level and you're playing an aggro deck, I think the number one thing that you should be looking for is flexibility in your AD. So looking at like Viserai, he is I believe the most versatile aggro deck, where he can not only play like the same aggro 60, but with the same 60 he can also play a setup slower game. I think that's probably what they're looking for.
So if you have an aggro deck that is flexible into different styles of matchups, that would be an advantage over a deck that might only be the best at racing other aggro decks.
I think since the book banning, yes.
Okay. You probably also have to consider what is the best aggro deck into Enigma, and do any of them have lackluster Enigma matchups, right? Since we're putting a lot of emphasis on Enigma. So where does Aurora fall in this category? Like, how does she race the other aggro decks? You said that you feel pretty good about her matchup into Enigma. As Enigma player myself, it's not really a matchup I'd like to see. But in terms of fighting other aggro decks, or maybe some of the rogue like disruption mid-rangey decks, how does Aurora do into those?
So the way that I like to look at it is you basically have a triangle for the aggro decks, and it's obviously it's Dio, Aurora, and Viserai are kind of your three main contenders, and then Zen kind of slides in there as well as a contender. But I don't know if you call that strictly aggro. So basically, Viserai probably undisputedly probably has the best Enigma matchup, right? So if you want to bring an aggro deck that targets Enigma, you probably just bring Viserai. The problem is that the other two aggro decks sacrifice a little bit into Enigma, maybe a lot in form of like Dio, but they're better into Viserai. So it basically comes down to, because like Dio into Viserai, I mean, I think that Dio is just a little bit too consistent, whereas Viserai can just lose the game on one hand very easily, whereas it's much, much harder for Dio to do that. And then Dio can just accidentally win the game on one hand, right? So it's kind of flipped. And then Aurora is just very consistent, right? She can put pressure on Viserai before he gets going. She can shorten the game to the point to where you actually don't extract all the value from any Malefic that you play. There's just a lot of tools that Aurora has, and a lot of it has that matchup revolves around warmongers as well. So, I think it's just the classic. What do you want to be better into? But that's kind of how I view it. The triangle, Vis is better into Enigma in most of the other field, but if you want to beat Vis and still play aggro, you play Dio or Aurora.
Is Warmongers a big consideration too? Because like Aurora plays Warmongers and is basically immune to it, where Viserai and Dio kind of struggle against that card.
Yes and no, because Viserai is not as susceptible to it as he used to be. Sometimes he'll chuckle and just become the Art Knight, read the runes, and kind of laugh at you. So it really just depends on what hand you catch Viserai on when you resolve it. Sometimes it can be worth 10. Sometimes it can be worth absolutely nothing. It just really depends on the hand texture of the Viserai player. Typically, if you resolve it while they're off an arsenal, it increases the odds of that being a successful play, because typically Viserai will sit on non-attack actions in Arsenal because that's his most powerful cards, and those increase the ability to just sit back and make those rune chants. So it does revolve a little bit around that very important card that just happens to be $70 to $80 now, which is insane to me, and it's that much for a reason, obviously. But Aurora gets to play it and is basically unaffected by it, and Dio gets completely shit on by the card. Dio can just accidentally lose a game. You can say, "Oh, do you have the system reset in your hand?" No? Okay, you lose the game. Congratulations. And so it really just depends.
Sure. Okay, well, you've been talking about Viserai quite a bit, so I think we could put him in the currently discussing section. So Viserai obviously got a lot of new tools from Rosetta, and there are many ways to build an 80. Often it involves kind of having a little bit more of a setup or a little bit more aggressive version. But I've kind of noticed that in my practice games against Viserai, players play this hero vastly differently. So it's a little, there's a lot of different styles of deck and of play. This is a deck that I think on just like on raw Talishar stats alone is the most winningest deck currently. Take that as a grain of salt, of course, but so where do we think Viserai is going to be in terms of meta share? I know, Nathan, you mentioned that you thought Aurora and Viserai kind of switch positions. So in that case, that means that you think Viserai is going to be more represented and more powerful.
I think Viserai is the only deck that has a chance to be the most represented deck other than Enigma.
Okay.
I think it's basically one of those two decks will be the most represented. So, I'm very
Viserai is hovering somewhere around Enigma.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we talk?
Who leads? It could be like last Worlds, where like I think it was Icelander and Dromai were basically like neck and neck. They were almost the exact same percentage, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. We could see something very similar, or one eke out just a little bit ahead.
Taylor, I know that you've been playing quite a bit of Viserai. How has Viserai been treating you these days?
It's been great, except for if I play against any hero with the name Aurora lately. That's the only matchup that I cannot figure out. No matter as much as I spent work into it, I just keep getting my butt kicked in that one matchup. But I mean, if the meta share is going down for Aurora, that makes Viserai even a better pick for Worlds.
Okay.
Because I think you have game into Enigma. I think you beat all slow decks just because your ability to play Ninth Blade, incantations, that whole package, kind of like what he used to do back in the day. So I think he's a fantastic pick for Worlds. I think he's probably he would be my go-to aggro deck, banking that you expect Enigma to be the number one most played deck, because the Enigma Dio matchup will hopefully scare some players away from the Dio side.
Okay. Eventually, I do kind of want to circle back on how these top meta share decks perform against rogue decks. But in general, we consider Enigma to be the the guardian or the gatekeeper
Yes.
of a lot of decks. Is Viserai also kind of like, hey, you gotta have at least this much damage output or this much disruption or this weird of a game plan to even have a game with me? Is that kind of how Viserai feels as well?
Yeah, from my personal experience, I think any deck that's Guardian-esque, so Victor also, but like a Florian kind of matchup, Viserai has a very good matchup into like a Riptide. I know that's an off case, but anything that takes a while to kill you, Viserai can usually just, have off turns, set up, and just kill those matches pretty easily.
Okay.
Any of the fair decks that you would think of like heavy hitters meta pass, like Brutes, Guardians, Warriors, really struggle into Viserai's Rune Chance and damage output.
Right. Good old heavy hitters meta. A long time ago, though. Okay. Okay, so we have these three. I think the next deck that we should talk about is Azalea, because Will, we haven't heard from you in a while. So Azalea, where is she? Right here. Okay. So Will, it's no secret that you thoroughly enjoy playing this hero. And I mean, with the book banning didn't hurt her. They didn't burn Codex of Frailty or Codex of Bloodrot. So she's, basically the same strength as past meta. So
the
how's
great
she looking
powering down. She's looking great. The great powering down of aggro heroes completely missed Azalea, and she was keeping up before the book banning, the book burning. She's pretty darn good at what she's trying to do. She's got game into all the top contenders right now. That being said, what was said about Viserai just now, against these slower heroes, they don't stand a chance. Sometimes Azalea takes a second, like a couple turns to ramp up. And if these other aggro decks hit the ground running, she can just get left in the dust. So I think she's a fantastic choice. She's very, very strong, but she's not quite the swinging for the fences as I might have hoped.
So the meta has evolved. Sorry, Aaron, what were you going to say?
I wanted to ask one quick thing about Azalea. Is that like Ranger in general has a wide arsenal of tech arrows that they can play, and the relevance of them changes a lot meta to meta. Obviously, in Azalea's case, Red in the Ledger is always going to be good, and you have a lot of aggro decks, so that's going to be a strong one. But have there been any arrows that you've kind of been impressed with in this particular meta that people might not be thinking about, or like some of the effects? I know like maybe Frailty and the Dash IO comes to mind, or something like that.
Well, Lace with Frailty is always doing its job in that little pump position. But before Dio hit the scene, actually Hamstring Shot was just overperforming in all the PQ
Frostbite
testing
at home.
and PQ games I played. Yeah, Frostbite at home.
Love Frostbites.
And it was very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, now that Dio is back with a vengeance, Sleep Dart has made its way back in, and fortunately against Viserai, Sleep Dart is just a phenomenal piece of tech. So yeah, certain cards have been ebbing and flowing very
Zen
much so.
stayed at home.
That's right.
Azalea's got all the tech cards, although they're a little bit roundabout. So I wanted to ask, since we've seen like the meta game that Azalea was previously in featured a little bit less armor. Now that you're playing against Rune Blades, and Rune Blades have a large fridge, to be frank, and they're a deck that needs to be disrupted. How have you felt Azalea versus Aurora and Viserai at the moment?
It's like I was saying earlier about Enigma. When it feels good, it feels fantastic, and you run away with the match. When it's chugging along and you're throwing drill shots and endless arrows before you find any meaningful disruption, feels terrible. So it's kind of a coin flip.
Okay, so you have to draw the disruption quite early, or you fall behind. And
exactly
in an aggro race, falling behind is not good. So currently, in terms of like tech against Enigma, that's primarily going to be like Murkmire Grapnel and just a double-digit dominate arrow. Is there any other tech pieces that you found are good against Enigma?
I suppose Vero's been screaming it from the rooftops, so I don't have to keep it a secret. Play your bullseye bracers into Enigma, Azalea players. Don't bring the long draw half glove. They're gonna have Warmonger's diplomacy. It's true.
Yeah,
you should bring in the long draw half glove. Don't do it. Bring in your bullseye bracers.
Okay, is that just to Snapdragon and load up another arrow to clear something, or
that? But also, there's times where you need to shoot something huge, and a way to do that is to load the crappy arrow you don't want to shoot, then Azalea into a pump, and then use bullseyes to load whatever the arrow you actually do want to shoot. It's just you always need to be able to do above rate things in that matchup, and long draw, it's just not as flexible as bullseye.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Will, where do you think Azalea would be in this chart?
I think she's actually going to be real close to Aurora. Maybe a similar situation what we have with Viserai and Enigma.
Okay. I think just in terms of like numbers from the PQ stats, there's less Azalea players than there are Aurora players. So safe to say she's on the left.
Yeah, I think that's good. Now, maybe put her a smidge above her on strength or viability, because, man, when she's humming, it feels like you can't be stopped. So I think she's pretty strong. It's just there's some things that have to go right.
Does she brick more than Aurora does? Because like some problems that Azalea could have is like, yeah, you can beat anything, and like you're good into aggro and Enigma, but like you could also just randomly lose almost any game.
That's true. She runs the Viserai problem where if you draw all non-attacks or all arrows, it can be pretty bad. But can Aurora do the same thing by drawing like all instants? So maybe that's a lot less likely though.
With the meta being more Runeblade based, has the uptick in Warmongers affected your gameplay, like in your arsenal targets or anything like that, into specific heroes?
Absolutely. I used to avoid putting arrows in arsenal like the plague. It was all about putting pumps in there. But now it's like, oh, please put an arrow in there. Like you need to be able to snap and then fire another arrow if you do get hit with a Warmonger. It's just passing because you have a non-attack in arsenal is no good.
Yeah, because that strong uptick in Warmongers as of late has probably been affecting you more than you'd like to admit.
Yeah, but Warmongers is the kind of thing where like they really need the room to play it. Like, and if they have the room to play it, you might already be in trouble already. I don't know. It's really good when it's really good, but sometimes you just go like, cool, Boltyn shot, rain razors, load an arrow, fire a blood rot for 7. And like that's pretty crazy. But yeah, more often than not, the Warmongers is backbreaking. So you're not wrong.
I think overall you got to think that this is a big tournament. It's a longer tournament. There's an extra CC round, so CC is more important, and having decks with higher variance can be quite a negative thing for people who want to take a deck that, you know, like Enigma, for instance, is a very consistent hero. Like any deck can have good or bad variance, but I think Enigma will be popular because of her lack of those game-losing variants. That I kind of feel like Azalea falls into that category where, like, if you play enough CC games in a row at a tournament like this, you're gonna find a moment where you might just like lose the game because of like one awful hand that like another hero might not have. Like I know Aurora can be a little inconsistent, but I don't know if it's at the same level as like Azalea is. So that is something to consider for bringing to a tournament where you're gonna have to play like a lot of rounds in a row.
No, that's absolutely true. That's a great point.
Sure. Okay. So we have those 4 heroes placed on the graph. Let's talk about Florian. This is well, unfortunately Ed is not here. He's being disciplined by his by his mortgage or something like that. So he's not here. He's the one that's been playing the most Florian, but you know, he's been talking with us about this hero. This is kind of like the new Victor. He mentioned several times that Florian feels a lot like a Guardian. Obviously, you have a very, very strong defensive suite, playing a little bit slower. As the game progresses, you get your hero ability turned on, and then, you know, the value of the deck is very, very, very high. This is a deck that, so I'm just gonna throw this out here. I think this might be the first contender for overrated.
Yes, just like a
because-
Guardian, he's super overrated.
What? Really?
He's
Okay.
overrated.
Yeah. So let's.
Too many
I was
people are
gonna.
play him.
I was gonna say the opposite.
Really? Okay. So we're gonna have a little bit of discussion here.
What?
Okay. So Florian, his matchup spread seems pretty fine, but
Really good.
Okay. Let's let Aaron talk about this first, and I'll kind of add some points.
So Florian has the tools to win any game. Do I think that Florian can execute those game plans consistently enough to beat those decks consistently? I don't think so. I think
But
that
not fast enough is one issue.
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
like you have variance in the sense that you are playing a disruptive deck that plays cards that aren't free, just like Guardians did. So you can run into bricks where you don't draw enough blues, or you heavily disrupt one turn and don't have follow-up on another, and you can just give windows for the aggro deck to come back and kill you. I think that you have solid matchups into the aggro decks, except for probably Viserai. That one's like maybe even at best, but I don't think so. And Enigma, I think that matchup is super overestimated on the Florian side. I don't think that is good at all into Enigma. I think you can get there, just like you can beat anything, but it's like taking Victor, to events in the past. It's like you can beat almost anything, but will you do it consistently enough? I don't think so. I just don't think Florian has the highs that these other decks do to punch through on a consistent basis.
I will also say I think Florian is, I'm just going to be frank, a noob stomper. This is a hero that is very good against average, below average players.
That's why Nathan likes it.
So I think at the Worlds tournament, the skill level will be high enough that they know how to push the point on
Yeah.
Florian. Okay, so Nathan and Taylor, you guys, I think from your initial reaction, think otherwise. So let's hear some points.
No,
on the other
Taylor, you go first because you agree with Aaron, right?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
Yeah.
you,
Okay.
you literally sat next to me at dinner, was like, I hate 3-card 8s, and now you're trying to fight for Florian on 3-card 8s?
But I'm not playing 3-card 8s.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but that's like his best. That's literally, he only has 3 of those 2-card 8s. Majority of the time, it's like Activate Grasp, Plow. The deck is so mid compared to like Viserai or Enigma. It shouldn't even. I don't understand why you'd registered at Worlds. It just blows my mind. And I know someone's gonna watch this. They just registered at Worlds, Florian, and they're like, "Did I miss something?" I just don't like the deck. Simple as that.
So my take on this hero is this is the next Dash IE.
Which
This
also
hero.
Which also
we
sucks.
agree.
Oh, look. Okay. So it's the premise of the deck, right? Like you sit across from a Florian. Can you, with a good amount of certainty, say what their game plan is
Yeah,
to a
losing.
T?
Yeah.
They want to decompose. They probably are running 9D.
Yeah, but you don't know how
Selling,
aggressive they
Plow.
are. You don't know how defensive they are. Like, yes, you know their key cards, right?
I see what you're saying. I don't think it's at the same level as Dash because there's a
Of
huge
course.
difference between aggro boost and turtle dash and pistol hybrid and stuff like that. Where
It's
Florian,
not
it's like
at that level yet.
Mm.
Is my
Yes.
point. I don't think that the deck building has evolved to the point. It's like we've kind of seen my list and how far it leans into the aggro category, right? And there has to be a version that does the opposite, right? And so if you sit across from an opponent at a tournament like Worlds, where it's very difficult unless you're on a very large team to accurately scout. And if a lot of people are coming in with the same opinions as you are, why would you even waste your time and energy to scout a Florian?
If I was at Worlds, I would be on Enigma probably, and I wouldn't be worried about this issue no matter what they reveal to me, buddy.
That's what I'm saying is I think that the Florian Enigma matchup is not bad at all if you build the deck in the very aggressive manner.
Mhm.
Like I would, this might be a hot take, but like I'm talking ballpark of 50-50.
Mhm.
If you go all in on the aggro and you just have like a sideboard package of your D-Reacts, I think that you can get it in the ballpark of 50-50.
But what does that sacrifice into the aggros and stuff?
I was going to ask, what does it even look like, first of all?
Well, I mean, so you have a lot of options, right? You have everybody's on Rune Rager Swarm, Swarm and Gloomveil, and then you have CMH, I think everybody's on, but you have some lists that are dipping into both the tree and the CMH. Again, in the Enigma matchup specifically, all you need to do is not have an off turn, right? Which I know you're like,
That's it.
That's all. Yeah. Like
I didn't think of that. Oh my god!
In an Earth deck, how could you like not have an off turn, right? Like it's just like what they're made to do. But if you cut down on your ship blues, right? Like I see a lot of people running 27, 28, and you take out cards like Truce, which I'm a fan of. In my very first Florian deck, I had it in there for the turn 0 high roll. But in that matchup, it just doesn't do anything productive. So if you cut down those blues, put in more reds that are aggressive, think attacks like go, any attack with go again to pair with the CMH, and then you can leverage tools like Plume of Evergrowth to reoccur your CMH to keep that pressure on. Basically, you have to brick twice in the Enigma matchup because Plume will always bail you out the first time. Because you can go reach and get a CMH, or if you're already turned on and you need like a quick answer, you can go get Arcane Seeds, make 4 Rune Chants, and you can just really pressure that board if you need to. So, all that to say, I don't think the Enigma matchup is that bad. It's a good deck into Azalea and Aurora specifically, because you basically demand them to not brick while you're leaning more defensive on your D-Reacts, but you still have the explosiveness. And Viserai might be a little shaky. I'll concede that. But you're good into Dio, right? Like you're solid into that matchup. And because you played the card that kills her. And yeah, so like that's a solid matchup spread. We just said 50-50 into the most represented, slightly unfavored in the second. And then you're beating the next 3 decks.
Well, you said it's 50-50 into Enigma with your like super aggro version, right? But is
Correct.
that super aggro version just as viable into the aggro decks as your normal mid-range or defensive Florian list? Like, you have to be giving up something.
I mean, I think what you do, you don't give up anything in the matchups. You give up things in just overall consistency, right? Because if you run, I'll go ahead and say I'm on 21 blues, right? If you run 21 blues in a deck that runs, stuff like that, like Felling the Crown, if you don't draw blue, you're a little bit on the weaker side, right? You have an off turn, although you can always pitch a card, Swing Sword, which in some matchups is not good enough. So yes, I think that's what you can do, is not sacrifice in matchups, but overall consistency, which is just a sacrifice you have to make, and just lean into that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good discussion. Where are we going to put Florian? We're probably going to have to compromise here slightly. We'll put him in the middle for now.
Like
that's perfect. All right, next hero. Let's go.
I will admit, there's a higher probability that everybody else on this call is correct, and it's much less likely that I am correct. I just see something. I see something.
I think the hero behind you has warped your vision a little bit on this hero.
It could. It very well could.
Yeah.
It very well could.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just put it this way. Would there be any other contenders for the green quadrant?
For the green quadrant?
This overrated quadrant.
I think people have kind of figured out.
We got to put something there.
KO. I think
Okay,
KO
yeah,
goes in
we
that
can put
pod.
KO then.
No,
Yeah.
no, everyone know KO sucks.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
DMing me, hey man, you got the KO deck for Worlds? No one's doing that, okay? Like that doesn't exist.
What about
Vinset.
Prism?
I think Prism's good.
I think
Damn.
Prism's good.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we cross the bridge, I guess. Okay, so I think the consensus on this call is that Florian is like
Overrated.
mid.
Okay, he's overrated. Okay.
But is he going to actually have a lot of meta share? Like, this is where I'm kind of thinking, like, is this scale? Because we use the linear scale, like, you know,
I mean,
I don't even know if he's going to cross 10. He might actually be over here.
I actually think he'll be kind of popular-ish because I think a lot of the Guardian players and people who like that style will want to play her.
Yeah, that's true. Put him right there.
I think she's definitely better than like a lot of those heroes, you know. So he'll be popular in that regard.
Wait, so you're saying a lot of players at the World Championship level are going to make the bad decision of bringing Florian?
Yes.
Yes.
Remember when people used to bring Bravo?
Yeah. I mean, like people brought Bravo to the last Worlds, like Tunic Bravo, when there was Icelander was the best deck, and I was just like, what are they doing? So why again?
Oh no.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be Nathan. No. It couldn't be,
Couldn't be me.
There definitely isn't a Boltyn player here that brought it into like a 20% Icelander field. No. We make bad deck decisions sometimes. I'll just put it that way. But I do think this rough area.
Florian's definitely Florian has definitely played less than Aurora.
100%. I would hope.
Aurora needs to come to the right some, or Florian needs to go back to the left. Azalea, I could see them being close or interchangeable. I'm not sure.
But then that just means that he's in the dog shit category.
Now, okay, he's leaning slightly to the green. Okay, this is
Like,
fine now.
if he's as bad as you think, how is he? How are more of him showing up than Azalea?
Because I think a lot of people don't know how bad he is.
Oh man, or a lot of people know how good he is. Which one is it?
No,
it's definitely the first one.
This is the first one.
We're gonna have to come back to that. Okay, let's talk about another hero that I think is quite interesting, actually, new. So this is a hero that was very dominant in the last meta because she had a very good matchup into Zen. Also had a lot of player agency, lots of skill expression. However, this metagame doesn't look the greatest. Enigma being the most popular deck is not that great for new. Aurora seems, of the Rune Blades, is probably the most resilient one. Like, you take a random card from her hand, whatever, still some decent damage output.
Viserai is a bad matchup for her. That is honestly one of the worst matchups she has for an aggro deck.
Okay, can you expound on that slightly?
Yeah, so like Viserai can stack damage turn over turn no matter how you rip his hand apart because of his hero ability. So you take the attack out, I can still make 2 rune chance, and even if I can't swing, and because of split damage, she has a hard time actually kind of covering the split damage on the turns, and she usually likes to no block with her disruption hands. You go pitch a blue, play an attack, swing dagger, or whatever. Viserai is actually a really rough matchup for new in testing. I would say it's like 65-35% Viserai favorite.
Which AB slot is she running? Because her headpiece it should be a lantern, right? Okay. Because her traditional 4-piece equipment is like pretty set in stone. Okay. Is there any other thoughts on new? So this we haven't talked about Zen yet. I know, Nathan, you think very highly of Zen. So that is something that needs to be said, is that new was great against pre-book Zen and arguably should be even better now.
I think she's worse.
Yeah,
she's worse. Okay,
yeah, I think it's the other
interesting.
Way, yeah.
And I think we'll talk about that when we get to Zen, because Zen is a different deck. He is not. He is a new man.
Okay, I see what you mean. He's not trying to keep 6 cards and go for 40 damage. He's like, okay, these 3 cards are good. These 3 cards output 12 damage. Let's go. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, fair. Okay, it does need to be said that new has been winning quite a few pro quests. I think this might be kind of similar to Florian in that the skill gap, a new can skill gap weaker opponents very, very easily. In the hands of somebody very, very experienced, this is one of the most terrifying heroes in the game. This is kind of a comfort pick from the past as well. That's something that we kind of need to talk about, is that Azalea, New, and Zen all have like momentum from the past metagame. So, you know, there's some people that's like, well, okay. Assassin decks are very expensive to put together. Okay, if you don't know this could easily be a 4-digit deck, right? So if you have a new deck, you might be like, wow, she's good enough. You know, I don't really want to. I spent so much money on this deck. I don't really want to change. So I think to some degree, that is why we've seen quite a few new wins. Is that people are just like, well, that's the deck that I had in the past.
I think if you want to play a slow anti-aggro disruption deck, New is like probably the best choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You're not playing Victor, or I don't even know who else is a control deck in this format.
I think that if you do play her, you do have to understand that your Viserai and Enigma matchup is going to be rough, and that's something that. But the thing is, she has enough tools in her toolbox that she can, you know, delve some weird cards that you would never expect, and probably get the matchups a little bit closer to 50-50 than if you prepped for only those 2 or 3 matchups.
It is not unwinnable into Enigma by any stretch. Like it's totally different for if you bring Count Your Blessings Bravo or something, and your plan is I'm just gonna concede to every Enigma I play against and beat other people. New is not that deck. New actually has to New makes Enigma fight for the win. It's definitely unfavored, and New can tech her deck pretty heavily to beat Enigma if she wants to, but Enigma has to play it well. There's a lot of intricacies in that matchup, so it's not a dodge Enigma deck by any means. I think it's not a bad pick at all.
Okay. All right, where are we going to put?
I would put it in like purple. Like low-ish meta share, probably lower than any of these other heroes we've put, but above the line. So I would say it's a solid pick.
Something like
Let's say 7.5. I would go a little bit higher. I think she's pretty strong.
Yeah, I think she's viable.
Okay, so something like that is what I'm hearing. Okay.
8 if it's Shing.
Yeah, much higher if it's Shing. Okay. Well, we mentioned Zen. I think now would be an appropriate time to talk about Zen. Where is Zen? There he is.
I love New Zen. I think this is such a cool way to take this hero.
What a cool deck. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Well, yeah,
it's just kind of neat.
Yeah.
I just think he's neat.
All right, Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the new Zen is built and what they're trying to do?
Well, he's leaning much harder on the tigers now. He's making stuff with tigers. He's more willing to block and play like I guess they're not defense reactions. They're block cards with ambush. He's doing a lot more cool stuff. Tiger Eye Reflex. Yep. I actually don't think I'm as qualified to talk about it as Taylor is. I've been thinking he's cool looking from the outside looking in.
Yeah. Okay, so go for it.
Yeah, so what happened was me and Aaron were sitting in a car ride, and he's like, I think Zen's good. And I was like, what? It's just out of the blue. He's like,
please put a timestamp on this. When did he say this? This was back in June. I'm not surprised.
No,
it was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, 2 weeks ago. Okay.
We're sitting in a car, and he just hits me with it. And I'm just like, what? He goes, I just think he's really good right now. So I sent him a deck. He's like, this ain't it. I sent him another one. He's like, this is it. We tested it. It's just good. He's able to throw 3-card 13s a lot, while also blocking. He also gets access to Flick Flack. I mean, he's got game into Enigma. He's got game into Viserai and Aurora because of Zen states. I think his only 2 real bad matchups are probably New and Azalea. I think he's like my personal dark horse for the tournament.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Ira, like plays good value hands, but I think the real difference makers are the Shuko. Well, I guess Ira can also run Shuko, and the 12-petal Kasaya. The Zen State token extremely relevant against Io, extremely relevant against Viserai, helps against the breakpoints of Aurora. Just a solid deck all in all.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this deck. This is my pick.
Now, this deck has not been winning that many ProQuests, but I think, like you mentioned in your little story, that this is kind of a newer revelation. People are like, hold on.
Yeah, so because the meta is starting
Rumors
to get
of my
like,
death are greatly exaggerated.
if you look at like Io, she's going to shoot your pistol a lot, and she's going to have these wider turns, which make the Zen state a lot stronger. Looking at like Aurora, if you make a Zen state, it turns off an Arc Lightning turn. It turns a Snatch into a single card block. This is minor things like that. So when you're playing Zen and you're maximizing Zen states with like the wax on, wax off package, the deck is just phenomenal into aggro decks. Being able to time walk Viserai's abilities for 2 turns with a Zen state's a big deal. There's like little minor things like that. They play Mordretide, you block with Traverse and Pedal, and you right there you make a Zen state. It turns off the Mordretide turn if they had any other following swings, stuff like that. So I think that this is the best anti-meta pick for Worlds.
Anti-meta pick.
Yeah.
So that means it's going to be somewhat popular, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
How many people have come to that conclusion? Is the question. Well,
Not
maybe
enough.
a couple more that are watching
Anybody
this.
that's watching Nathan's stream.
Yeah. Nathan, I know that you placed Zen very, very highly. Is there any things that you'd like to add here?
I think it just clicked.
Mhm.
I think I can mathematically prove why Florian sucks.
I knew it was going to be.
All right, we're rewinding, guys, a little bit.
Imagine a
Let's go, Sam.
deck. Imagine a deck that does the whole aggro Florian game plan, but you get to run 9 more blues, and you don't have to decompose.
You just attack with your blues. It's really good.
Yeah, like
Now you're talking.
you just play Zen. It's the same thing. Okay, so
But
you guys
Zen
are right.
doesn't have odd hits or not disruption. Sorry,
Yeah, but
I
he
guess
does a brick.
technically he does.
Yeah, he does.
Generic disruption.
So at the most recent PQ, this is actually the deck that knocked me out of top 8. And what I found myself I was playing Aurora and I was playing against Zen, and I was able to see the situation that really punishes Aurora. And yeah, like if Zen State can kind of counter Arc Lightning, like that's cool and everything. But in a traditional aggro matchup, you hold your entire hand, you punch them in the face, and then they return the favor, right? And you just see who falls down first. The problem is that Zen kind of just baits you into like taking the damage and then going all in. But the second you do that, you fall for the Zen state. So it's kind of a little game of chicken where you don't want to go all in because you want to kind of outprice him for activating his Zen state, and just kind of try to mid-range better than him, but it's very difficult to do that. It is very, very difficult to do that.
Aggro
But-
heroes cannot mid-range very well. by
Right,
definition.
but there is a lot of game into that deck by doing what we thought you should never ever do, and that is just concede full tempo. I found a lot of spots in our games where basically you just give up the tempo, and then they have to like pitch the wax on or whatever the case may be, because it just doesn't do them any good. And you can kind of extract free value and then basically go all in a little bit more, and then you kind of discount the value of the Zen State token because you IP them with as many D, because they do run a decent number of D reacts. Usually it's sync, flick flack, wax on, wax off if they're on the double package. So they're giving up tempo is not the scariest thing on the planet.
Okay. All right. Where are we gonna put this meta, not meta, strong hero?
Put him in Dark Horse.
Yeah, I'd say like
Probably-
3%, 4%.
Oh no, that'd be more than that, right?
No. I don't think-
Like,
I think-
there's a chance
I think it'd be more
some
than
might
you.
come out of the woodwork.
Okay, well, there's one thing we haven't talked about is Zen versus Enigma. So in the
Yes.
past, this was not a good matchup for Enigma. but now the
It's
Zens
still
are
not.
playing a little bit more
It's still
fair.
not.
Yeah, it's still not, but they're
still
not
not.
doing bonds into bonds into bonds into bonds, right? So
It's a different kind of match because now they're like, now the Zen can actually play to a Cosmic Awakening onto the Enigma
Ooh,
if they've
yeah.
tried to fatigue.
Mhm.
And that's something that like me and Aaron figured out is that like Cosmic Awakening is actually a relevant card in Zen now.
okay.
So it's like if
Yeah,
you
it's
play
like bad
slow
for
enough,
different reasons.
yeah. So it like you can try to aggro them, but they can also aggro a little bit better. Then you try to tempo them, they can tempo a little bit better. You try to fatigue them, they can just hit you for 20 twice.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, where should we put Zen? I'm hearing somewhere around here. but-
Yeah, I think he's worse than Viserai. So like
okay, so
I mean
lower than Viserai.
and probably the same meta share as new. So just right yeah.
Somewhere over there. Okay. Sure. I can
Yeah,
see that
I like
being
that.
there. Nathan, I think you want to slide it over to the right a little bit.
I mean,
Mainly because it's so good against these two heroes.
I mean, that's like if you're good into the top two decks, then that is exactly where you want to be, right? And
Yeah,
we're
maybe-
assuming that World Championship players will be able to see that. And you're also good into Aurora, right? Like we have not placed a deck. I thought that the Florian matchup would be really good for Florian. Newsflash, it's not the worst, but it's like very close to 50-50. Because if you just brick as Florian, then you kind of just lose. And then Zen just doesn't have that issue. And yeah, like with all the D reacts and stuff, you're actually really good into Azalea. Maybe really good's not the right word.
Because
I
they're
think
really
it's
good to
50-50.
stretch, but you are better.
But yeah, it's better. It's not like that
Yeah.
dog shit matchup it used to be, right? So
Mhm.
like we have not placed a hero yet, other than maybe new, that is good against this hero.
Yeah.
I think someone mentioned before about the new matchup where it's not as bad as it used to be because of the way Zen plays. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
You're
So
less all in.
so if we're talking about the World Championship, we can't be the only ones that are seeing
Gooch him over,
all
put
of
him on
this.
11.
Like he's really fucking good. I think a lot of
10-10.
people are gonna realize
No.
it.
10-10 right here?
10-10. I mean that's what my tier list looked like.
Okay, I think maybe we put it on the same level as Enigma.
I
Might
think
be-
that's chill. I
Right.
like that, actually.
might
Sure.
be- this might be the best place for him to hang out. Somewhere around here. Okay. All right, there's one more hero that is part of this,
Elite.
very meta relevant. Before we
Let's do a
start
let's do a sanity check real quick. Let's count up all of our meta share and see what percent we're at. So we got
this
what
is
15,
about 30,
about 30.
45, 40, 50, 60. This is about 70, which is
Okay.
about right.
All right.
Look at us. Look at
Let's
us.
see.
Look at you.
All right, I do want to talk about Dash.io now. This is kind of the last of, this section, right? We've kind of filled in everything here, and then we're gonna move on to this section.
Yep.
So Dash.io. Now,
Put her next to Florian.
yep, I was about to say this might be the most overrated hero. The reason, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Dash.io. So recently had the Armory deck come out. Really, really good equipment there, as well as Cerebellum processor. There's also several boost cards as well in that deck. The issue is that Dash.io basically has to figure out a way to not be fatigued, or figure out a way to race the aggro decks. And that's not very consistent, because if you don't see certain cards, even though the deck does dig pretty quickly, aggro mirrors do not tend to last more than 3-4 turns. So there's a high variance in the aggro matchups. And the solution for, not getting fatigued, there are quite a few tech cards, and like Warmongers is way up there. I think, Aaron, you mentioned that, you just Warmongers and they just lose the game sometimes if they don't have system reset. This here is one of the few heroes in the game that can just output 60 damage. Whoops, I just stumbled into 60 damage. I don't think there's any other hero other than Kano that could just stumble into 60 damage randomly. So there is that. There's the high roll potential. But heroes like Zen have Zen State. Heroes like Enigma have, I think it's called Aqua Lapse, the headpiece. Azalea has some disruption. The rune blades can block decently. They have face purgatory. I know there was a lot of doom and gloom about Dash IO is like the second coming of Zen and like it's gonna destroy the meta, but
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Yeah. I think that we haven't seen like a Sam Sutherland pilot this deck yet. I don't think that we've seen like a
she's so hard.
Level.
She's very hard to pilot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think she's gonna be one of those heroes where it's gonna be like 5 players have like a 65% win rate, and then the rest of the field has 40. Mm-hmm. I think this is an extremely challenging deck to play, and it's going to be very top heavy with win rate of the hero. So I do expect 1 or 2 in the top 8 of Worlds, but I expect it to be Sam Sutherland, Nick Butcher, players that are known to pilot decks to, the 10th degree. But I think that even the Worlds people, I think that it would be a rough pick for the majority of people.
She's like the combo aggro deck. I think she's gonna make most of the feels bad losses that people have, where they get destroyed in 2 turns and then they go to their friends. I mean, I hate this Dash IO deck. He got triple cerebellum processor on turn 2, item, and then dealt 80 to me. That's so BS. I hate this. Mm-hmm. I think that she is a bit fragile to disruption, fatigue stuff. She fatigues very, very fast. She obviously has tools to get around it, and a skilled pilot will be able to circumvent those downsides for sure. But I don't think that she's harder to make successful than I think like Zen of the past would have been. So there's no way I can see her being super popular and super successful. I think Taylor's pretty much right. Like, I think she's going to do well, but by a small number of players compared to the people who are actually going to bring her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You said to put Dash IO near Florian. Which direction for Florian?
I think she'll be more popular than Florian. But so I guess to the right. As far as
Do
strength,
we really want to say she's overrated? I mean,
I don't think she's overrated.
No. Yeah,
I just think that
she's better than Florian.
Yeah. Well, that's not hard, but
she's a contender.
Yeah, but like she's gonna be so top heavy. Like I believe her conversion rate for day 1 to day 2 is gonna be like very mid, but the players that make day 2 are gonna be playing like 65% win rates.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate here as well. It's like, so this deck is complicated. The lines are complicated, but how much agency really is there? Like, if you see a high octane on the top of the deck, like, and you got a full grip, you got a boost, like, what can you do?
I think a good player can
You don't have to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a good player is going to know when to take certain lines and not to, and you're going to see the good players play 3 high octanes at times that they look like they always had it every time. Like you know how when you watch a Zen and they're like, wow, he always has Art of War bonds. It's like because the good players know how to arsenal, are always aware of what they're doing. It's going to be the same thing with this. When you watch like Sam Sutherland, which I'm going to assume he's going to be on Dash IO, when he plays it, he's always going to look like he has it. Because good players always draw better.
Okay.
I can see it now on the stream coverage. There's going to be a Dash IO game where the Dash player just intentionally IP2s themselves. And it's going to be one of the best plays of the tournament. Because they're going to be like, oh yeah, he's passing with 2 cards in hand because he saw something, and then just 35, 40 fucking damage, right? And just blows them up because they know that it's not a game of value. It's a game of, that's the piece I need. I'm going to just pass my turn. Or if you want to dive even deeper, it's about boosting to find your piece. Take that inefficient line, throw those shitty blue for ones, and just to dig deeper because you have the ability to look at that top card. I will concede the fact that there was a lot of people that hyped this deck up when it first got released. I am guilty of that myself. But especially after this weekend, I brought it to our Pro Quest from the Team Runaways. And if I could describe this game to you, I'm talking turn 1 pounder into Cerebellum. If I would have taken a picture of the board state and told you this was turn 2, you would have told me he had 0 chance to lose that game. And he absolutely got dumpstered because the opponent had a Warmongers at the correct time. And it's just like, I think so many games are going to be stolen from her that it's going to really hurt her top 8 conversion specifically. I think she'll do very well into converting to like top 32, top 64, because you can only have so many games stolen from you that way, theoretically. But yeah, I think she's a powerful deck. She has some weaknesses, and they're very exploitable.
For other decks that are going to be playing into Dash.io, you just want to make sure that you are aware of what you can do to punish her for taking these really, value negative setup lines, right? If the Dash.io is going to IP2 herself to try and find the perfect combo, you want to have the tools in your deck to punish that as much as possible.
Yep. And I've done something similar playing against it, right? Like I'll just take this absolute dog shit line just to get a Warmongers in my arsenal, right? I'll make lines like that all the time just so I can like get ready for that play. So it's a weird matchup whether you're playing as Dash.io or against it. It's very interesting, actually.
I agree. Okay, so we've finished this top tier section here. We have these 2, 4, 6. Well, sorry, all the way down to here. So this is actually 80% of the ProQuest wins. And this is roughly 80% of our tier list. So now let's talk about kind of this middle section here. I want to talk about heroes that, going to have a low meta share, but maybe in, just the right position to exploit something in the meta. The first hero that kind of initially jumped to my mind, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, maybe not, was Prism? Victor. Well, we'll talk about Prism in a second, but let's talk about Victor. Yeah. So on paper, when I first thought about this, I was like, okay, Victor's not good into Enigma, but like, Victor is fine playing into these aggro decks. He has disruption. He's going to win most of his clashes. It's fine against Azalea, but then I was thinking about it a bit more. I'm like, you're not that great against New. You're not that great against Enigma.
You're not that great against Viserai.
Actually, then I thought about it more. I'm like, wait, split damage is actually not the easiest thing in the world to deal with.
Right.
And then eventually I was just like, if you're a guardian
pretty
lover,
good into everything.
Yeah.
You're kind of good into everything that's not the 2 best decks.
Yeah.
And when I say kind of good, I mean like barely good.
Yeah, like 52-48 good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you're pretty bad into New, probably.
Yes, that's another.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Guardians.
Florian, right?
Also traditionally bad into it. Yeah, even Florian is probably,
I don't actually know.
Yeah, I'm not.
I would assume so.
I would assume so, but I'm not going to be. We this is why we need Ed around.
Florian's got Germinate and 5 damage weapon, right?
Yeah, it'll get there at the end of the
and 3 card 8s also. So.
Yeah.
3 card
8. So. I think there's people that's gonna bring Victor because he was decent in the last meta because Zen was the most played deck, and Zen
we all made mistakes
down a bit. So so yeah, I could see Victor being kind of like here.
He's got to be no. He's got to be like 2%, 1.5% meta share.
Yeah. Sorry, this is linear. My bad. Yes, not exponential.
Yeah, I say, dog. I was like, we're gonna see like 3 in the field.
I will say that he has like a high probability of like the deck being redefined at this tournament. I think at this tournament we could. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying if there was ever going to be a tournament where what we know.
Yeah, he's gonna reveal Rampart.
I don't know if he.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know
if he has the toolkit that like, because like what makes him powerful is very restrictive in your deck building.
That's so true. The hero ability does force you into.
Yeah. You're either just not doing that at all and then just play a different guardian, or you're doing the thing and then you're playing what everyone else has been playing.
And even doing the thing, like, there's a lot of variants. Like, you reveal a Pummel, you reveal a Trounce, a Test of Strength, Goldmane Estate. I don't know what else they're playing, but, like, you can miss on your clashes and then things get kind of bad. So I think some people will bring him, but probably not the best choice.
And we salute you.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about Vincent. So at the very beginning of the metagame, when Rosetta just came out, everybody was like, "Oh, Vincent got so many tools and unpreventable rune chance. This is the answer to Enigma." And then we tested and tried it out, and we quickly came to the conclusion that something was just not quite there. So Vincent,
I know what it is.
Okay, all right, Taylor, tell the people what is it?
Because it's the first CC hero with the IP of 3. It just makes it really difficult to actually do anything.
Exists.
Touche.
Yeah.
Anyways,
well, we know where he is. So
yeah.
So having to banish a card at the beginning of your turn is obviously very, very punishing. I feel like this hero is becoming Boltyn version 2. Like, they're just like, just one more card and he'll be broken. Just one more card and he'll be broken. And we're kind of at that point.
One more legendary.
One more Shadow Runeblade legendary for Vincent, and he'll be broken.
This set completely exposes how awful her hero power is, because the cards that she got are very strong and they synergize very well with what she's trying to do. But the restrictions on her hero power do not let her convert that into the meta strength that she wants to be. So I think that until they push something about her beyond what is reasonably acceptable to overcome that downside, it's just not there. You're going to run into the Boltyn Levia thing where every time you get new support, it's like, oh, this is the time, this is the meta, she's finally good, and she just is going to fall apart in the same ways that she always has with her inconsistency issues.
Just errated it to a May. Just do it.
I think that she's good. I made the prediction that she would actually be potentially the best Runeblade when the Rosetta cards came out. And that was before we realized what CYB was. And that's kind of the one thing that really just took her straight out of the meta, I think, because she just doesn't have the toolkit to combat that. I mean, you can damage stack, right? You can try and do that as much, but the problem is that they could just life gain their way out of it, typically. And if they have any disruption whatsoever, they can kind of like, bully you a little bit. But if CYB didn't exist, I think Vinny's actually a solid pick. Like, you look at the Azalea matchup is fine. The Zen matchup, as they are more defensive, is probably fine.
Let's examine that statement that, if CYB didn't exist, Vincent would be good. How many of these decks, we've been talking about them in basically popularity order, how many of these decks actually play CYB? A portion of the Enigma decks. I've never seen a CYB Runeblade other than Florian once in a while. Dash.io is obviously not playing that. Azalea is obviously not playing that. Zen's not playing that.
Well,
New can play it.
We've done the ProQuest winner decks, and generally they've been aggro, right? So a lot of the CYB decks are going to be more of the normally fringe rogue heroes, and they weren't doing super well in ProQuest because CYB is a lot different at the ProQuest level than it is at Worlds, and I think it's a lot more difficult to take CYB to a ProQuest and win, even though you might think that it's a better strategy against bad players who aren't prepared for it, where at Worlds everyone's going to know how to play against it and have a plan for it. But you have the issue at a small ProQuest level of time, to be honest, and like it makes a lot of games really obnoxious to play out, especially when you pair against someone who doesn't really know what they're doing or more of a casual player. And it's kind of the you have to either bully them into playing faster, which causes feel bad scenarios, or you draw. And then at a Worlds level, you don't really have that issue because most of the players at Worlds, should be able to complete the game at least, right? They're confident enough, but they're also going to be confident enough to know how to beat you.
Sure.
So CYB hasn't come up with these heroes because the aggro decks are doing well at ProQuest.
Right.
Okay, so in general, are we trying to say that CYB is like probably going to be a thing at Worlds, but not a prevalent thing, or are we saying that's, what are we trying to say here?
Some people will play it because I think that it is a decent strategy in some scenarios, especially in certain matchups, and I think that people are kind of underestimating its effectiveness, and it's kind of easy to shrug off like, oh, the good players are just going to beat it, I'm just going to beat it no matter what. But you still have to have the plan for it. Right. The tech cards, right? Poison the wells, talisman of cremations, whatever your plan is to beat it, if you don't register that and you run into it, it's going to be bad for you. So you need to have that plan, even if it's going to be popular or not.
Sure. Okay, it's kind of like respecting Kano with AB and Oasis. Like,
yeah,
if you think that this is a possibility, then you may need to bring it. Okay, I think Vincent's gonna hover somewhere around Victor. Where did we want to put him?
Higher on the strength. I think she's actually better than we're giving her credit. She can do some
better
pretty
than Florian.
nifty stuff. Yeah,
Under DM.
Okay, so kind of on the line and probably not that popular.
Not that many people playing her.
Probably
but
about
if
the
you're
same
an
as Victor.
expert,
Maybe
I think she's
2-3%.
actually going to be pretty powerful.
All right, we'll put her just like that then. Okay, another hero that kind of jumps out is Prism.
Prism.
So obviously this deck changed radically with the book banning. Now they are basically Herald aggro, running a couple of attack reactions to ensure that things hit. They're still, trying to get figments out. Most of them are running Empyrean Rapture to, give every Herald a double on hit, basically. So if you let a Herald hit, they're gonna put it into Soul. They might get something from the Herald hitting, and then they'll get a figment, and they can flip it if they want to. This hero is, because it has changed so rapidly, it's I'm not exactly sure her matchup spread. My brother does play some Prism. He says that, in general, the aggro matchups are good. Obviously, the Guardian Brute matchups are bad. Anybody have any thoughts on Prism?
I mean, look at the good decks. Like no one's playing Poppers.
That's true.
And because Tome got banned, the whole like Vestige, Aura, ALS loop, that kind of strategy got quite a bit worse. I mean, you could still do it, but it's not as good.
Right.
You can't like oops, I win people as much anymore.
Yeah.
And the matchups where you needed to do that anyways to win, like Guardian, super defensive decks, maybe Brutes with, decks full of Poppers, like people aren't playing them, right? We've already said Brute's not very strong because it loses to these aggro decks. Victor's not good enough because it loses to Enigma, and it's not even that great into some of these aggro decks. So if the meta is Enigma and aggro, like Prism's super strong. You just build your deck to go all in on the Herald aggro to where that aggro decks really struggle to race against you, and it's hard for them to tech for you, or they don't have the space to tech for you. And then you just play enough sideboard cards that you're fine into either Dio or Enigma, and I think the deck's like super strong. I think the Enigma matchup can be kind of tricky, but I think it's totally overblown that like Enigma is like overwhelmingly favored. I think that matchup is like kind of spooky for Enigma if the Prism runs their deck aggressive enough.
Breakpoint Herald into Breakpoint Herald is not no joke when you don't have poppers. Okay.
There's one problem with that.
Okay. Let's hear it, Will.
Viserai is nigh unbeatable for the current version of Prism because Ninth Blade and that 6 power popper, I forget what it's called.
Amplify.
Amplify the Arcanite. And the biggest problem, you can ignore Ninth Blade and Amplify, is Face Purgatory. Prism loses so much tempo because she's going to try and throw 2 Heralds at you. And Face Purgatory says no. And then she falls behind and can't protect her angels because of all the ruin chants. I think Viserai absolutely wrecks Prism.
Yeah, that's definitely
32
the
health
hardest
is
aggro
also
matchup, probably.
It's also a concern as well. If you stumble a little bit, the aggro decks get a hot start. There's the comeback mechanics. You know, the comeback mechanic in Prism is your opponent messing up, to be frank. If you play a strategically sound game and you're in an advantageous position against Prism, most Worlds level players can close that. But Prism is really a deck that demands, you know, you play perfectly or you lose against her. I played several matchups against my brother, and the whole time I was like, you know, there were games won or lost based on one decision. Like you gotta be making perfect decisions against her. Yeah, I think she's not a bad hero at the moment. And if I had to guess, I think she's been played a little bit, right? 8 ProQuest wins is like, okay,
it's pretty good.
I mean, it's not that high, but it's like it's something, right? So I'm kind of seeing her like somewhere around here. Is anybody else kind of feeling it?
I think she's better than that. I would put her like as high as new, but like lower representation, like 3%.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So currently Prism is our pick for Dark Horse, it seems like. Okay, yeah, I could definitely agree with Prism being there.
Is it time to take out the trash?
Okay, let's talk about Arachne and his friends.
Just stick 6 heroes.
All right, let's take 6 or 7 heroes out of the game here. All right, so Arachne, just like Boltyn, just like Vincent, just needs one more card, right, guys?
Yeah.
No.
Just 60 cards. Just 60 cards.
Yeah. New hero card.
Just 60 more cards.
Next uprising set.
Yeah. So, Will, you were the one that did the A to Z episode with your friend. Any insight on?
Well, you want to hear something crazy?
Sure.
And I think Taylor pointed this out the other day. But of all of our A to Z episodes, the deck list with the highest Talishar win rate is the Arachne episode.
That's because it had 4 wins and 2 losses.
It still has the highest win rate.
Okay.
No, I don't think there's anything that he's specifically targeting right now, or at least that he's not targeting better than other heroes.
Himself.
He's already, he's already.
In general, like Assassin cannot deal with Enigma. That's like first of all.
That's true, except for new, but yeah.
Well, he definitely has way less tools than the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just, lacking a little bit, and he's not exactly pouncing upon anything, so it's a pretty rough time for Arachne.
Literally our definition, strength plus position. His deck is not strong, nothing to prey on.
But wait, he has AB and Spell Void.
Oh yeah, he got so many new equipment. He could beat
All right, put him in the bottom
now.
left corner.
If that stuff was assassin/ranger, I'd run it in Azalea in a heartbeat.
All right, you know what? We might even need to like put him off the screen.
Oh Jesus!
All right, we'll just put it there for now. All right. Taking out the trash.
Betsy,
All
get her out
right,
of here.
Betsy, what to say?
She'll be good when the log comes out, but until then, she gets the log weapon.
Her and
No shot.
Olympia need their own specialization weapons that let them wager.
They need some milk.
Now,
is CYB Guardian a 0 out of 0, right? Because like if someone's playing Betsy, it's probably that, right? I don't know if you'd play that over Bravo, maybe not, but like, are we putting CYB Guardian in the trash with these other heroes?
I think there's like one in the field,
So
like one.
I'll tell you what I told Josh in the car. I said the way that I would approach those situations is I would think this would go for like Olympia, this would go for Betsy, Bravo in a lot of cases. Everybody, we know every deck is going to have CYB tech, right? Whether you're Vincent, you might have Talisman of Cremation, whatever. You know, a lot of decks are probably actually going to run that card, but like everybody's going to have CYB tech. We can all agree on that. Like 95% of the people at Worlds.
And they're all going to bring it into Betsy.
So the question is like, even if they guess wrong, right? You're still going to win
because they're heroes.
You still have a better deck, even if you guess wrong. I would bet that I could play Aurora with Poison the Well into your aggro Betsy deck and just shit on you. Like there's just no way.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
There's absolutely no way. And you could say the same for Viserai. Like he's just gonna stack and let Reaping Blade do the work, right? Like I mean, there's just no way. I don't see. Like I said, you can guess wrong and still just win.
All right. I'm gonna put it slightly above Arachne.
One person's gonna show up.
Sit on Arachne, basically. Okay. Okay.
Who's another trash option?
Katsu.
Oh, poor
Katsu.
You shut your mouth.
Even after what you showed us, Taylor. I respect it.
That deck was sweet.
It was sweet, but it was bad.
Dude, I'm 1-0. You were there.
I saw. Yeah, we have one less flesh and blood member in the community.
All right. So Katsu obviously got hit very badly by Art of War getting banned, Bonds getting banned. Bonds was really what made Katsu viable. Like outsiders buffed Katsu and Azalea way up. And then, Azalea stayed there and Katsu got his toys removed. There's really no point in playing Katsu because you don't have access to Shuko. You can run Shuko. You don't have access to the Zen stage. You don't have access to, in order to tutor, you have to hit, whereas Zen just says, derp, I'm gonna tutor.
I was like, what are you tutoring for?
Yeah.
Like
Bonds
and dreams?
No. Dishonor
wins.
Okay, so I do believe there is a Katsu deck out there with
Uh-oh.
Oh god. Let's talk about this.
Yes, there is a Katsu list, yes.
There is a Katsu list out there that could maybe beat 2 of the top 7 decks with CYB. I do believe that
already better than Arachne.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's a Count Your Blessings.
A fatigue Katsu deck. Stallsu.
I believe that. Yeah, Stallsu. I believe it could beat Azalea and maybe Aurora if the stars aligned.
I'll sum up this hero in one sentence. Katsu probably still runs Dishonor because it's one of his best blues.
It does. It does.
That's all you need to know. You literally cannot resolve the card in any way. It's literally impossible.
It's still
it's just a
0 for 2. That's pretty good.
But we have to be asking more than 0 for 2. No
3, dog.
I mean, come on.
So
it's true. What do you want?
Easy. All right. Okay. Let's just knock out all the heroes that didn't win anything. We still have
Teklo's
Kasai,
awesome.
Reinhardt, Teklo, Olympia. So we'll just knock them out in
Teklo
order.
just gets ran over by aggro.
But he has AB now.
As simple as that. Yeah. Oh yeah. So does Assassin. Look how they're doing.
Okay,
Doesn't
so
have to rely on Kano
eventually he'll
anymore.
be good because he has all the
Yeah.
foundational tools, right?
Yeah.
Teklo's just waiting for his meta to come, and hopefully it never does. Because if he
Because-
rules the meta, that'd be horrendous.
This would be the worst deck to play against if he's the best deck. Oh,
Oofa toofa.
All right, we're gonna put him on top of Betsy. They're just gonna sit
I like
on
that.
each
he's
other in the
better
corner.
than Betsy. Yeah,
He's better than Betsy. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Another here that didn't win.
Olympia?
Yeah, let's talk about the Warriors. We'll start with Kasai.
Cassie.
So, for those of you who enjoy the Warrior guys here on the TheCardGuyz channel, you know that I consider Kasai to be very, very mid when it comes to Warriors, which means she's very bad. Basically, she doesn't have enough damage output. She doesn't run a high enough blue count to deal with like the split damage. Resetting the dynamos doesn't matter when these aggro decks are just trying to rush you down. You're not great against Azalea. You don't have that many poppers against Prism. You have to run generic disruption against Dio. And she can just take those IP2 turns just to set up. There's like nothing in this metagame. Like you die to Kano. There's just a lot of things that just not good. She did lose Cash-In, which, you know, there was some debate on whether that helped or hurt her. But basically, very similar to Hachidori, a giant fall from grace from Pro Tour LA, where she won the calling. And now she's literally did not win a single Pro Quest. So I actually cannot remember a hero that like went from like winning callings to literally not winning.
There was Fi who won
Worlds.
Worlds.
Yeah.
But I guess he still was at least winning something.
Yeah, winning Worlds is definitely bigger than winning a calling, I think. But yeah, just not high enough damage output, no disruption. Raise an army is not relevant into a lot of these heroes. Blood on her hands is fine against the aggro decks, but you gotta see Spoils of War early because Outland Skirmish is not going to cut it in terms of copper generation. Yeah, literally no reason to run Kasai right now. I do think her card pool and equipment suite is stronger than like Katsu's, but that's not saying much. I'm going to put her right over there in the corner. Any other thoughts on Kasai?
He's never been good.
She's always been overrated, but
I've always hated her.
Okay. All right. Olympia. So, spoiler alert, this is my Worlds deck list. So, according to my cat, at least. We may need to consult with some Japanese cats, though. I think my American cat is broken. She didn't pick very wisely. So, Olympia. Now, the best thing I could say about Olympia is that he inspired some other decks that I've played throughout this year. The reason why I got onto Hatchet Dory for Pro Tour LA was I almost won a Pro Quest with Olympia. And then I was like, hold on. Wait a second, guys. And then I saw a Hatchet Kasai win the Battle Hardened in Kiel. And so Olympia has inspired a lot of things, but right now he's not inspiring in terms of win rate. Again, very similar to Betsy, he needs to have a specialization weapon that allows him to wager or utilize gold or some way. Literally, Cash-In affected him more than Kasai because that was the one way he, able to have a little bit more tempo. Sometimes he just has too much gold, believe it or not. Visit the Golden Anvil is a nice card, but he's just not a complete hero. I'm hoping that they will print some stuff to make him a more complete hero but at the moment he is not. But we do salute Olympia for inspiring some good ideas. All right. He's over here. All right, we can't even see him. We can see a little bit of his face there. You can see
all
his
right,
Galil.
Josh.
Put him on the stack.
We got
Right.
the real question that everybody wants to hear.
Uh-oh.
Is Guardian or Warrior the worst class in Flesh and Blood currently?
Ooh.
And if it's Guardian, why will it be Warrior when Jarl comes out?
Right now, I think Boltyn plus Dory can equal Victor, so it's about even.
Okay.
But Jarl does. I mean, Jarl has a giant card pool. Obviously, going to be very, very strong. The Frostbite mechanic is. We haven't seen that in a long time. The meta game here would look very, very different with just a single ice hero. Currently, there's literally zero.
Right.
So,
Right.
like Will talking about how Hamstring Shot was like his goated card. I'm like, okay, the one energy makes a big difference. So
It really does
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think right now Guardian, because I think Victor is probably better than Dory and Boltyn, but we'll see. I think it comes down to the fact that there's 3 Guardians and one of them's good.
Yeah.
And there are 4 Warriors and 2 of them are okay.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of the break point there. All right. Another hero that literally did not win a Pro Quest is Reinhardt. Well, I do know that Reinhardt does have some poppers, so does have access to action points. But in general, I mean, that was good in the Illusionist meta, but I mean, Intimidate doesn't do anything against the aggro decks. You also are at the mercy of variance as well. Eugene has literally been sending me screenshots of like him drawing 4 reds on Talishar. I'm like, bro.
Bro, I got something to say about this hero. Mm-hmm. I got a message from Eugene.
Okay.
And he goes, I want to play some Aurora games.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what are you playing? He goes, Reinhardt. And my first thought was like, man, he doesn't have anything better to do with his time than lose to Aurora playing Reinhardt. That matchup is way closer
than you think,
than I would ever imagine. Now, I'm not going to spill his deck list or anything that it's trying to do. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is there's a version of Reinhardt out there that actually can go toe-to-toe with a lot of these aggro decks. I think that the one that's probably going to give a lot of problems is maybe Viserai because, well, it's tricky, right? Because Viserai blocks really well, but there's some cards that he absolutely does not want to block with, right? And if you intimidate the cards that are not those, then you actually extract you actually extract a lot of value. And so it's kind of a non-conventional way to approach Reinhardt as a hero. But if you are a Reinhardt, I think he's a little bit of maybe a dark horse.
Purple.
Like
sitting with Vincent, maybe.
Yeah, like he's obviously there's going to be so few of them, right? Yes. There's going to be so few of them, probably like all the way to the left. But I think he's like, oh, this is all due to Eugene. But like he actually is on to something, and I respect the idea that he's
and that's the beauty of being a specialist. You have tried everything, so when certain things come along, you can put the pieces together and try different things and see what works.
Right.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. These opinions are Nathan's and not anyone else's.
All right, Taylor, let's hear your Reinhardt rant.
There's no rant. I just want to play it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about tournament variants. Like, this is the hero that can literally lose you and win you games off a dice roll. Like, you got 3 action points and you needed 3 action points, you can win the game. You roll a 1 with a 5-card hand, you lose. And
there's 2 other brute heroes that can roll dice too.
That is true. Yes.
And I think they're both better.
Just play those ones.
Yes.
Everyone always says like, Reinhardt's just waiting for that meta. Once the meta slows down, Intimidate's just so good. He's going to be good. I haven't seen that come up. Heavy Hitters was slow. He wasn't good then. I don't see what the point is of playing Reinhardt over decks that just deal more damage.
Okay, so there is a version of Reinhardt. So this is I'm talking about in the past. That was a more defensive 3-block focused, club focused Reinhardt. Club is actually one of the most efficient weapons in the game. You have mono 3 blocks in your deck, and you were running, this is very old school. You're running things like Springboard, Somersault, Sync, Fate, Reckless Swing. So, and you were just playing like a very value-based game. The other brutes, so KO has to run a lot of no blocks, like Wild Ride, Bare Fangs. Levia has that constant pressure on her to banish cards to negate the blood debt. Whereas Reiner is like, you could pitch stack, an Alpha Rampage with a blue and a barraging beatdown, take the game to the second cycle, kind of wear them down over time, and then just kill them. That was something that this is many years ago when I was in Hong Kong, but this was a very, very common way to play. And I'm not saying that's good now, but that is a way to play brute that only very old school brute players will remember. So, all these new school brute players are running around with no blocks, whereas Reiner's like
with top 8s and
heroes with top 8s and LL points. Okay, all right.
Levia could play Bone Basher too.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Is there any other hero that we haven't talked about? We talked about all of them. All right, we'll kind of work our way up. All right, Maxx.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now this is an interesting hero.
I actually messaged a good buddy to ask him, "Hey, how's Maxx this meta? Would you play it for Worlds? Blah blah." He just replied back, "Don't touch the hero."
Oh.
So I believe I wouldn't touch this hero.
Okay, so this is a Maxx enjoyer telling you not to play the deck.
Yes, a specialist in Maxx.
So this is the Nathan
Maxx.
Crawford rule when he said, "If Josh tells me a warrior is shit, I believe him."
He told me there's no reason to play this over Dio or even Dash OG. So I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so
is this a bad time to mention that I lost against Maxx playing Aurora at the last PQ I went to?
Oh no.
This is a bad time to bring that up.
Well,
it's okay.
Let's talk about the builds of Maxx. So the current build of Maxx is one that gets out hyperdrivers, gets out a mechanoid, and then finds a high octane, plays it, boost, attack with the hero. This is a hero kind of like Saber Boltyn. Like, they can get this on turn 3, kill you on turn 4. And they essentially heal, kind of like how Boltyn does. So I presume the Maxx just high rolled you to hell. Or maybe he had a very special card.
I lost to a 50-cent Majestic.
Oh no.
I drew my hand as Aurora and I had Arc Lightning. And then in my arsenal, I had another Arc Lightning. And I was like, okay.
Time to
He's dead. He is dead. Like, you can't block the arcane with your mech. Like, you're just toast. I'm gonna ping him to death. And then he flips over and plays from arsenal Dissolution Sphere.
Oof.
Tell the people at home what this card does.
It says
so they can
any
buy
instance of 1 damage exactly, it is prevented.
I love Zen State.
So it basically it's kind of like a cheap version of Zen State where it has to be exactly 1 damage. So what it does is it stops all arcane for 1. And then also, anytime you attack for 4, aka Aurora, your 3 blocks are now 4 blocks because it just covers the 1 breakpoint.
Embodiments are good.
That 1 card won him the game.
I assume they're playing it probably for like Viserai, right?
Probably.
Viserai and Aurora probably are the reasons to play it, and probably Dash IO maybe.
Man,
seems a little slow
Everfest.
though.
Yep.
I tell you what.
All set.
So yeah, if you do play against a Maxx, just be aware of that card.
The solution sphere.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
Okay. And so there really is only one build right now for Maxx. It is get a Mechanoid out really quickly.
Yep.
So the current counters to Mechanoid are brutes and decks that have a way to play around overpower, or decks that could just kill him fast enough.
Yeah.
The biggest issue Maxx is having is actually Count Your Blessing fringe decks.
Really?
Maxx cannot beat Count Your Blessings. It is a unwinnable matchup.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it counters the overpower.
It does everything.
Yeah.
You go up to like 60 life, their combo doesn't do anything. You can just fatigue them with like a hard breeze. It does nothing.
Okay. All right. So weak against kind of fringe decks and... Okay, so Nathan, you're the one that talked the most about Maxx. Where do you want to put him?
Very low representation.
Probably exactly where Kasai is, maybe.
Okay, just right on top of her.
I mean, as close as you can get to her. Okay. I don't think anybody's gonna bring her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, put him over there. All right. Let's have a little fun here. Aaron, pick a hero, any hero.
Kano.
All right, book ban obviously impacted him a lot. He runs both Tome of Fendel, Tome of Aetherwind. This affects how he can pitch stack a combo at the second cycle. However, has no effect on his traditional first cycle YOLO, which he plays into quite a few heroes. Got a few new cards, extra zaps, open the floodgates, and some other cards like that. This was a hero that actually, wasn't it a mirror match in the very first Rosetta Battle Hardened finals? So,
yes.
I mean, we've come a long way since then, but...
He's still doing some pretty impressive stuff, and he got a new little cheatsy doodle card in the form of Sigil of Cycles. When Sigil of Cycles is about to pop, he can just Kano all of his cards away, discard his empty hand, and then draw off a Sigil of Cycles. So he has like a new Ragamuffin style effect. And Open the Floodgates is a very potent card with some amp behind it.
Casino
so I think Kano is Kano is still very, very powerful. I think he's not quite as good as he once was, but I think he's still a pretty good hero. I think you might see a decent little number of them.
So I think we know that Kano as a baseline is doing something kind of strong, but let's take a look at his meta position. So the traditional weakness of Kano is a deck that's fast that also has Arcane Barrier and blues. And that sounds a lot like these heroes.
Yeah, the Ruined Blades do well at that, as well as an Enigma, and Dash.
Aurora easily gets to play AB3 Shock Charmers, although you don't have a ton of resources. Huge. I mean, Kano could always just kindle floodgates, kill you without you being able to do anything about it, but it's a lot less likely now without randomly flipping Tome of Aetherwind off the top of your deck. I think that Kano either sucks and no one's gonna play him, or someone figured something out and broke it.
Wins. Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah.
But most people are saying he's bad, so either they're lying or they don't know.
I see. Well, here at the Chart Guys, we would never lie to anybody. So if Kano is actually good, news to us. So all right. Where do we want to put Kano? I feel like we can't put him at 0%. I think he's at least 1 or 2. But where is he in terms of strength?
I think Verdance is going to eat all his market share, right?
Sorry, what?
What
did you say?
Verdance is going to be.
Verdance.
You're saying that.
You're
saying that he's going to be 2 to 3%.
I said 1 to 2%, somewhere around here.
Yeah, because I mean,
if you want to play a combo wizard, you play Verdance.
But I mean, he's also a combo wizard. He just sucks.
Yeah. I think that he's above Rhinar, but still just as left as you can be on.
Okay, we'll put him there. He can ride on Rhinar's shoulders.
Yes.
What?
Kano's
You're
better
saying
than Vinny?
Kano is almost as good as Dash.io.
Let me go check the battle hardens for the season, and I'll let you know about the Vinny. Hold on one second.
I'm back. She didn't do too hot.
I bet you didn't do
I'm
too
back.
hot.
Okay, we're done.
Kano almost as good as Io.
I mean, IO might need to go up.
Yeah, but yeah, Io might
Yeah,
go up a little
maybe
bit.
Io should be up in strength. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I moved her up.
I
a
actually
little.
think I believe Io's stronger than Aurora, but
And I think Vincett's actually a little stronger than Kano.
I will
agree.
fist fight you, Will.
I mean,
I
all
think
of those
Vincent's
heroes are better than
not too
Kano,
shabby.
right? Victor's better than Kano. At least he beats something. What do you even beat with Kano?
No, I think Kano's better than Victor, but
I-
I think Vincett's better than Kano.
Is he?
Okay,
I don't know. I don't care enough.
they're roughly in this area. Okay, we're
Yeah, it's
forming
fine.
clusters.
They're close enough. They're
Clusters.
close enough.
Clusters. Okay. All right. Nathan, you have control of the board. Pick a hero. Any hero.
Oh God. Something I would never bring to Worlds. Bravo.
Oh boy. This
Wait
year
just
or
a
last year?
Hold on.
All right.
Somebody
Tell
make
me
him show his
about
work.
the second or third best guardian.
There's some people that saw a lot of success with Rampart, 2-cost defense reaction, CYB deck. And I think that strategy is amazing at the ProQuest level. Like, actually, probably one of the strongest things you could be doing at a ProQuest. But at Worlds, I think you're just going to get dunked on. And I don't think there's any other way to put it.
It's too obvious of a strategy.
Like I said, I can run the CYB tech into that deck, and if you turn out to be aggro Bravo, I think
Still
90% of the decks out there just beat you anyway,
Mhm.
because at least they have a hero ability.
You also have to dodge Enigma. That matchup's not winnable in any capacity.
Exactly. And
Your first crush effects don't do anything against a lot of these heroes either.
the strategy's not strong enough to just say I'm going to lose 20% of my games, because we know Enigma is going to be anywhere between 15 to 20. So I yes, it is powerful in a certain environment, but this is not it.
Okay. Where's he going?
Where's Betsy at?
Between Maxx and Victor, yes.
All right, we're just building a ladder here. All right. Taylor, pick a hero, any hero.
Levia.
Oh, love you.
All right. Where are we
This
gonna put
hero
this
the
hero?
best it has ever been. If anybody is looking for a gold foil Hexagore, hit me up. This here's the best.
This is her moment.
Sucks. Let's
This is her
go.
moment.
I was just kidding.
This is the brute moment.
No. I think that Ethan's most recent version is actually Hexagore. Funny enough. I'm gonna be 100% honest though. I don't even know what she's doing now. I don't know, other than the
Yeah,
normal.
What does a Leviathan build look like these days, anyways?
She's
I
running
know-
that new card, the Necromancer card.
Yeah,
Call to the
call to the
grave.
grave,
Sure.
dump things
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
graveyard. Okay,
Yeah.
beast
it's
within.
just-
Dump the beast
It's
within.
Blood Rush Bellow and the Shadow Realm Horror Savage Sash aggro.
Yeah.
She lost
which
Yeah.
Art
is
of
like-
War, and
Yeah, Art of War wasn't as big of a hit as people made it out to be, but I don't think she's bad. I just think that a lot of the aggro decks outrace her, and she's gonna have an inherent problem against any like control CYB kind of situation.
Mhm.
So, not where I want to be.
okay. Is this going to be the most represented brute, or is it KO?
It's
It'll
KO.
be KO. It'll be KO.
Okay.
I think
Okay,
they're equally
let's
as
just
good.
quickly
probably.
look at her matchup spread, right? So, have you played any games as Enigma against Leviathan recently, Aaron?
The answer is
Actually,
no. He values his time.
Yeah, I'd much rather play against Florian
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Fair. Okay. Well,
I kind of disagree with a little bit. I think Levia does have enough tools into super slow defensive decks compared to some other things. Like playing into CYB or like a really fatigue focused Enigma, there's a certain skill check you have to pass as the Levia player, but you have the recursion tools to get over anything, right? If you set up like endgame Tear Hydra turns or with Call to the Grave, access to Howl or Ghostly Visit stuff.
That's true. Yep.
It's just a lot more easier to pull off now. And I think that like only trying to fatigue them doesn't really work as much. You just kind of have to like as Enigma, you would need to just trade value wise, and I'm not worried about that matchup as Enigma, but I don't think it's like free. Well, Levia sometimes just like throws 23 at you every turn and kills you. Like she just has that potential in her deck at all times, but she also has the potential to do nothing and take 10 damage and lose.
Sounds like a Reinhardt deck a little bit. It has the potential to run you over, but also has the potential to fail. All right, where are we going to put Levia then?
Higher than Reinhardt, but not too far to the right of him. I don't think there's going to be too much representation.
Somewhere here?
What Kano is to Vinny.
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll be 4% of her,
You
but
mean like that?
yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sure, that works. All right, Will, it is your turn. Pick a hero, any hero.
Let's knock out that other assassin, Azuri.
Aha. All right, winner of the last Pro Tour.
Yep.
Azuri Switchblade. Did she get any tools from Rosetta? Any 6 power stuff to switch in? Or 2 cost things to switch in?
I don't think so.
You got some new equipment.
Yeah, she got some new equipment. That's true.
There's the one that checks for non-attacks.
The pen.
Yeah. Is she playing that per se?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
All right. Just looking at the top decks, Enigma seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, her main issue is that she is worse into Enigma than New is. And I don't think any amount of like increase you get in aggro matchups compared to New, which I don't even know if it's true. Like she might just also be worse than New into those matchups. But assuming she is better, I don't think it's worth playing the assassin that is worse into Enigma. Like New's already struggling enough there. Like you can't sacrifice that matchup. So I don't really see a reason to play her over New.
Of note, eventually we're going to come to Dory. I've noticed that this meta is a slightly higher than average D-React meta, which is definitely not good for Azuri. Decks that you used to be picking on like Zen now are running 6 to 12 D-Reacts. That's not really where you want to be. Yeah, I'm just looking at everything here. It's just not like your disruption has to line up very, very well against these aggressive heroes.
That means she's going to win.
She has to pick her spot really carefully, I guess.
She's done it twice.
But twice? What do you mean Azuri's done it twice?
She won a calling. Like just randomly.
Yes, she did. Yeah. I think it was in APAC. Okay, any thoughts on where we should put Azuri? She hasn't been very popular during ProQuest season, but
she's probably like similar to Victor, maybe a little worse.
Yeah, I was thinking like above Bravo, kind of the same against the wall.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, we'll put Azuri over there. All right, it is my turn to pick something. Let's talk about Boltyn. All right. For many, many days or weeks, I thought that Boltyn was the best warrior. That's not saying much, guys, but mainly because this is the only warrior that has a somewhat realistic shot of beating Enigma. Also has a decent amount of speed against the rune blades. Obviously, you're not defending much, so you have to like draw very well. But you do have some, cute tools to get around face purgatory as well, because you're not really coming in for a lot of damage. Sometimes you can flash an Illumina as well. A lot of these attack-based decks have some issues blocking you. There's a decent amount of D-Reacts in the format, so that's a little bit of a downside. Azalea, always going to be traditionally tough to deal with. Fine against Prism and New. But I guess the main thing is it's really Boltyn's hero ability. And not hero ability. His hero abilities are actually really good. It's the fact that in order to get anything to work with him, you have to charge cards. And, the Armory deck did help a lot. But okay, let me put it this way. A lot of the matchups now, you're not playing Tunic, which is actually a big, big, big deal. When you're playing Soulbond Resolve, you are basically playing 2-card, 3-card hands. You're trying to Beaming Bravado into Lumina, swing, and kind of get tempo that way. Walk the life totals down. Get into a position where you still have some armor left, some power cards left in your deck, some cards in Soul, and force them to block, which turns on your hero ability, which extracts extra value. That is literally the most fair thing you can do in the game, and you really don't want to be doing fair things in Flesh and Blood. Let's just put it that way. So his current play style, current card pool is really just regular, and there's really no reason you should be playing Boltyn unless you really, really like the hero. I mean, I really like the hero. Can be played in multiple ways, but he's just missing something. Maybe he's missing another $5 legendary. I don't know. Any thoughts on Boltyn?
What kind of Boltyn do you like right now?
So I've been playing. So that's a very good question. There are actually several ways to build Boltyn. You can build him as a pure rating deck. You can build him as a switch deck. You can build him as a combo deck that is blue heavy, utilizing things like Blade Runner and Blade Flurry. I think the most streamlined way to play him right now is just pure Raiden. So your packages for pure Raiden, you have a core set of cards, and then you either add in Tunic plus all of Tunic's buddies. So that's Take Flight, Valiant Thrust, Bolting Blade for the double charge V turn. Or it is a more defensive package that is trying to set up things like Spirit of War, which is kind of like a mini Via the Vanguard, and you're playing a more mid-range game. So you're either playing full aggro Raiden or you're playing like mid-range 2-3 card Soulbond Resolve Raiden. So that's typically how I like to play him at the moment. I've traditionally been very, very into the combo style, but we've seen just more and more decks getting hate for the combo. Like literally, they printed Pulse Wave Harpoon for Mech. They printed Scowling Fleshbag for Brute, and then they started printing some Illusionist cards that would like
Dissolve Reality.
Dissolve Reality, yeah. So I was like, okay, everybody and their mom is getting hate cards for the combo. So I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of drifting away from it slightly. So,
do you classify Boltyn as an aggro deck? Like, would you put him in the same category as like Aurora, Viserai?
He's a mid-range deck that can side into full aggro. So examples of decks that you have to go full aggro into are like the easiest example is Enigma and Prism. You basically have to maintain pressure. You have to get those Via the Vanguard turns with the double charge Vs with the bolting blades. Valiant Thrust is extremely important. The easiest way to tell if you're playing against an aggro Boltyn or not is if they play Red Take Flight or Valiant Thrust. If they're playing those, or if they present Tunic, they're being aggressive into you. But he's a mid-range deck that can pivot to aggro. But I mean, with his equipment, he's a lot more consistent now, but he still can stumble. Yeah, he's good if your opponent wants to block, but this is really not the format for that. And walking the life totals down, like I was talking about, is not entirely possible against these rune blades and decks with dominate like Azalea, or decks like Dash.io. There's just too much damage output. So
will there be a singular Boltyn player at Worlds?
I think so. I think there will be a few. I don't think he's going to be popular. I actually think by far Dorinthea will be the most popular. I know she is. So this is actually one thing we haven't talked about, guys. This Worlds is in Asia. And traditionally, the Asian metagame is very different than the Western metagame. For those of you who played Magic the Gathering, there was always like a disconnect between the two scenes. Same thing. I think Europe and North America are a little bit more, close together because of language and all that. But if you look at the players that have registered for Worlds, this is public. You can see how many and who have registered. There are a lot of Asians, obviously, that are going to be at the Pro Tour, right? So this is going off on a tangent, but my Twitter page has a lot of Japanese followers, which tells me that, and I follow them back, and the only thing I see from them tweeting, if it's related to Warrior, is about Dorinthea. I have not seen a Japanese player say MILB ever. So my guess is that Dorinthea will be the most popular deck, a Warrior at Worlds. I would be surprised if there's very many Boltyns. I think there will be a few. I don't know exactly why he would be bringing him, but I think there will be a few. And the thing is, like, if you don't have reps against Boltyn, you might have some issues. But even a few reps and just just a few reps in him, and you'll be fine. Actually, I think overall.
All right, put him on the line. Where does he go?
All right. He's probably going here with Bravo. I'm gonna scoot him over like that.
Is he that good?
Yeah.
Better than Bravo
all
and
right.
Maxx? Yeah, I think so. It's not saying much, but yeah. I mean, he does a thing.
His rating game plan isn't too shabby either.
It's just, you gotta skill gap your opponent quite a bit as Boltyn. Also, there's some knowledge gaps as well. Like, if you don't know about certain lines, like, yeah, it can... Also, if you disrespect the active Iron Song verses, you can get in a lot of trouble.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so he's there. All right. Back to you, Aaron. Pick a hero.
Let's do Acilio.
Ooh.
Acilio.
Taylor's favorite.
I think out of any hero, Acilio has like a big shot of just like randomly doing something that nobody expects. Does that make him a dark horse? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if like we see some Acilio pop up on stream or has like some run where they do some ridiculous combo thing that people aren't prepared for, and he just blows people's faces off.
I'm gonna say something. I think he's probably better than Kano and Levia.
Wow.
Ooh. He has been winning a few.
But the thing is, he is wildly difficult to play and wildly inconsistent. But sometimes you could just kill your opponent on like just turn 2. Wow. You're just like, so like, we get an extra round of CC, so it's gonna be a little bit harder. But like, I think if one, there might be 3 players there that bring him, and if one of them runs hot, I wouldn't be surprised if we see one late day 2.
Guys, I don't know if we can put Acilio higher than Dash.io. What are we doing here?
I think Dash.io just needs to keep coming up.
Okay, Dash.io.
Keep raising her up. She's on the elevator.
She's coming up with the tide.
Yeah.
Rising tide.
People that are just like clicking around this video to get to the hero that they want to hear about. I'm like, why does Dash IO keep moving?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a believer in this deck because it is an aggro deck that is also a combo deck, which tends to be the most volatile decks in Fab. Decks that you need to watch out for, and it being a 1-card combo with Gone the Flash, and then 35 of your other cards are just combo pieces that go with that 1 card. Sometimes you can just draw hot and just win games that you should have never been able to win.
yeah.
I would
like
even
that.
say that like after more testing, Ocilio is even favored into like longer games like new. And I never thought I'd even think that, but I think Ocilio is favored into new as of late. So, and I assume there's teams testing him, and maybe somebody's aware of something that I'm unaware of. He's just,
yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
finish your thought.
he might just be better than I think he is and put up good results, or there might be 0 in the field. I cannot tell.
There have been a lot of games on Ocilio on Teleshar. Now, that might just be people being like, oh, he's new, let's play him. But I don't know. Okay. Nathan, pick a hero.
Let's do Riptide.
Okay.
Riptide.
Now, this
I
is a
was
hero
Riptide
that
main
was
for 24 hours.
Yeah, you were also Boltyn main for 24 hours.
That's true.
So Riptide, one of the heroes that was kind of a dark horse in the previous meta. This is a hero that has the ability to deal damage on the opponent's turn, which is a very unique mechanic. Obviously, it can be built in several different ways. It could be a trap focused, an aggro version, a defensive version. Let's kind of analyze his matchup spread right now. So I presume you played a few Riptide versus Enigma games, Aaron, in the previous meta at least.
It's not as good for Riptide as like people make it out to be. I would say it is more of an inconvenience for Enigma to play against Riptide. Like it's more annoying than it is bad.
Damn.
Like I don't want to play against
Shoo,
Riptide
fly,
just
don't
because
bother me.
playing out the game is really annoying. But I am not worried about losing it. I think that if the Enigma knows how to navigate what the Riptide's counters are to your, hero mechanics, then you have the tools that you need to beat him. And I don't think that he can tech beyond what is obvious, specifically for Enigma. And I don't think that he has enough game into the rest of the decks to like be worth playing. So I'm not
kind of I'm not sure if this is a true statement or not, but like when Azalea exists, you kind of have to be like, why are we playing Riptide? Unless there's a very specific meta we want to attack defensively. And
There's just not.
I don't think there is a.
If you want to deal damage with arrows, you just play Azalea, right? Yeah. So it has to be the traps or something about like the pinging, that is relevant. I just don't think it's there.
Okay.
You're like the 8th best aggro deck, and the defensive version of Riptide is like
it's not viable right now.
No, it's not. It doesn't even make sense in this meta.
Like, I think you could win some matchups. He's doing some relatively cool things, but he's just not keeping up with what the other decks are offering.
Probably about where Boltyn is, if I had to guess.
Okay. Put him there. He will lurk below Victor's horse.
Yes.
All right, Taylor.
Let's talk about Phi.
Ooh.
Phi rising.
Phi.
All right. Are we gonna go back-to-back world champion Phi?
No.
We're not. But
we're not.
It's so cool.
We will have 1 or 0 in the field.
Okay.
Phi can still produce like consistent, good
12
enough
damage.
You gotta love those 12 damage turns.
It's not really going much higher than that. He might do 15.
So Aurora was a big deal.
With like prismatic ley line,
His complete existence is off the back of tenacity and salt the wound.
Yeah.
Like those are very, very strong cards that are both tutorable, and that is like what makes him relevant. But it's just not enough. Like, let's say you always guarantee get 9 value from your salt the wound, right? And you get to tutor it out. That's still only that's a piece of equipment and a card for 9 value. Why not just like face Purgatory and do the same thing?
Or play Traverse.
A lot of head pieces are getting 5 value minimum right now.
Right,
So
exactly. So it's just gotten outscaled. It's not bad. It's just not as good relative.
I think this comes back to why would you play Fi over Zen? Zen just has better base strength, also has access to Zen state.
Bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
Aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Aerodynamic.
Fi looks cooler because he has flames. I don't know.
Zen does more damage with 4 blue cards than Fi does with 4 head jabs. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's pretty nutty.
Mystic talent confirmed better than Draconic talent.
Sorry, he just needs 2 more legendaries.
Where is he going? Are we just throwing him into this stack in the corner?
He's basically where Riptide is, probably, right?
I think he's a little bit more powerful than
a little bit left.
Left of Riptide?
Yeah,
so we can't even see Boltyn anymore?
I'm sorry.
All right, there we go. All right.
I feel like wouldn't he be worse than Maxx? Like Maxx has got to be better than him, right?
Keep moving him down. Keep going.
He's taking the reverse elevator. Reverse Dio. All right, we'll just stick him there. Roughly in this area.
I think that's fine.
I think next time I'm going to have to adjust the scale a little bit. This is way too crowded here. Especially with 31 heroes. It's like, I can't even tell who's here anymore. It's basically...
Does it really matter if anybody's interested in a
hero? You know where it's at, okay?
Yeah, it's not good. Don't play it.
It's not good if you can't see your hero.
This is supposed to be Worlds meta discussion, so you don't really need to talk about all 31 heroes that much in-depthly. And as much as like, you know, we kind of disparaged some heroes and made fun of stuff, you know, sorry if your favorite hero we kind of joked about, but in all seriousness, like it's not because we don't like these heroes or, you know, we think you're dumb for playing them. It's that we're talking about the best of the best here, right? And outside of like the top 5-ish to 8 viable choices, like there's just not much reason to be playing them, and the difference between a 1% strength level or meta share like doesn't really matter, because you're just so far away from like what the players who are likely to win are actually going to be bringing, that it's just like it's not part of the discussion.
The World's metagame is the one that converges the most. You thought Pro Tour converged? No. Worlds is 80 to 85% of people are going to be bringing on meta decks. Let's just put it that way. Okay. These 4 heroes are actually kind of interesting. They're all kind of a little bit different. They all got, you know, they don't all completely suck. So, you know, let's kind of knock these out. I think we've waited long enough. Let's talk about Dorinthea.
Iron Song.
All right, so Dorinthea. So here at TheCardGuyz, we don't like to lie or obfuscate things. So I will be telling you guys, I will be playing Dorinthea at Worlds. Okay? I will have to bribe my cat to change her mind, of course, but you know, I got a couple days to do that. So Dorinthea, the reason why I would pick Dorinthea, now let's just be transparent here. There are better heroes than Dorinthea. There are many heroes that are better than Dorinthea at the moment. But there's something to be said for playing a hero that you have a ton of reps on in a field of 31 heroes. Now, again, Worlds does move towards a more consolidated metagame, but if I have to play Dorinthea against Fi, sure, I have dozens of reps on that, right? Whereas you picked up Viserai in the last month. How many times have you played against Fi? Probably 0. So there's something to be said for being a specialist. You have a lot of experience with all the matchups. Additionally, you also know the card pool very well. You can build a unique deck, which I think is also something that you may need to do in this metagame. So let's talk about the different builds of Dorinthea. So the predominant build at the moment is going to be Dawnblade Dorinthea. That is running Courage of Bladehold and maybe Tunic. If they are running solo Courage, then they're probably going to be running tech cards like Dauntless, Commanding Performance, a lot of these pre-pumps that are just going to make it really, really hard to defend and just going to start the snowball on turn 1. This is something that strategically Dorinthea players need to do correctly, is that if you play against an aggro deck and you have an aggro Dorinthea deck, you need to get your first counter without resistance, and then you need to get your second counter no matter what they do. That's actually the best advice I could give to Dorinthea players. You get your first counter with just a Warrior's Valor and a single pump. Block for 6 with your other cards. Your second counter, either you're going to maintain it with things like Puncture, Singing Steelblade, or whatever, and block with 3 cards, or you are going to play a Supremacy and then force them to commit their armor on that turn and then have a Singing Steelblade Puncture or have an Overpower or a Rout. It's very, very, very important that that is the play pattern that happens during an aggro game. So if you could do that, a lot of these aggro decks are actually raceable. But a lot of times, if you don't get that play pattern correct, you just fall behind the Viserai, you fall behind the Aurora. But I think against Zen, against Azalea, you're fine. Obviously, against Enigma, you need a shit ton of tech cards, and you may not even get there. Things that help Steelblade Shunt, Route, Chorus of Iron Song, obviously are all very, very useful. Dio, if depending on first or second, you know that they can't block very well, so you can race that, you can fatigue that. Overall, I think she's actually handles a lot of things in the meta fine, but you have to build your deck with, like, either you build it with one purpose, like the Courage of Bladehold, YOLO aggro, try to end the game in 4 turns, which is, I think, the more popular way to play her right now, or you build a package style where you have like D reacts, you have attack reacts, you have Tunic, you have Drains, you have Courage. There's several ways to build her. But I think actually, other than like Enigma and a very hot Viserai that has a great start, I think a lot of these matchups are actually okay. Obviously, decks like Florian, you're going to have to take them to second cycle, but you have a high blue count, should be okay. Yeah, I actually don't think Dory is actually that bad. And I know that Dorinthea is somewhat popular in Japan as well. I don't know why. But so I wouldn't be surprised if she was like somewhere here. What do you guys think?
You're not confident.
You know better
enough
than I
to
do.
Put her fully in Dark Horse. You want to ride the line?
Yeah,
on, be bold.
I think I gotta put her here.
You think
with
she's
Acilio?
She's
as
as
good
good
as
as Dio.
Okay, fine.
A little bit lower, a little bit
All
lower.
right,
yeah.
we'll
Do it
move her
again.
down a little bit. She's still in Dark Horse. All right, we're not moving Dio up anymore. She's run the
I
elevator.
think you're
to the
right
top floor.
about Dory. I really
Yeah.
do.
She's also a knowledge check. Now, obviously, Worlds players are going to be good at
Yeah,
those knowledge checks, but I think there's something
You
to
never
be
know.
said
You
for
can still
being
get somebody.
a specialist in a hero that is all about matchup knowledge. Like,
Yeah.
the sideboard guide for Dorinthea is one of the most important sideboard guides you could read, because you're supposed to play every matchup completely differently. So, yeah, I think she's fine.
It's also been a long time since Dory's been relevant. So even though it's like safe to assume that Worlds players in a general sense will know how Dory works and what to do against it, it's not like they haven't sat down and played 100 games of Dory to really iron it out, right?
I will also say, if you guys remember a little bit, after Pro Tour LA, there was a Decimator Great X Boltyn that piloted by some Italian players that kind of took over. I did say 95% of the Dories you meet are going to be Dawnblade. There is a chance that you come up against a full fatigue Decimator Great X Dorinthea. Obviously going to be 0% into Enigma. But
bring it
you
on.
build full defensive against a lot of these decks. I mean, Viserai actually doesn't have that many attack actions, can be fatigued if you have enough blues to pitch to Arcane. As long as you have a little bit of speed. Obviously, Viserai has the ability to like run you over by setting up. But, I mean, that Great Axe style would be running some disruptive cards, so it could even disrupt Dio. You know, Azalea could be fatigued, just like a Guardian fatigues her. So
it's hard to sideboard perfectly into Dory because you don't know what they're doing.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. It is easier now because Hatchets is basically dead. As you can tell by Kasai basically being irrelevant. But I would say there is, you know, that 10% chance that it is Decimator Great X. And you guess wrong, and yeah, that's if you're playing Enigma, it doesn't matter. But if Zen guesses wrong, that might be an issue. So yeah, I think she's actually not a bad choice, and that will be the deck that I register for Worlds. All right, 3 more heroes to talk about. Which hero do we want to talk about? I kind of want to talk about Dash right now. Actually.
Let's talk about Dash.
Dash is a hero that has crept towards 1,000 LL points, hasn't quite gotten there yet. This is a deck that kind of like the stuff in the corner. If I see a Dash, I'm just assuming they're like playing Fatigue. Because why would you play Boost Dash when you could play Boost Dash IO? So I think that kind of loses her some points because Dash IE's strength was that she could obfuscate what she was presenting. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that kind of switchboard or even full fatigue style is if this is the meta for it. There were quite a few of those at last Worlds. Obviously things can change, but yeah.
She is probably one of the better fatigue CYB decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is kind of obvious that she probably is on that, right? Because loading the gun, healing, or setting up an item.
There's no chance she LLs this weekend, right?
No chance.
No.
Okay.
She's way too far. She needed to win 19 pro quests, and she's won like 3 or 4.
I doubt it.
So she will be taking her Tekla pistol eventually, but not for Worlds. Where do we want to put her?
I don't think we're gonna see a ton of her.
I think
Under
near Azuri. Yeah, I was gonna say near Cilio and Dory and Kano.
Like here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
See her little leg.
Her legs kicking
little
Azuri.
leg.
All right.
Little leg.
Speaking of legs, all right.
Yeah, feet.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So we have Verdance.
Who I thought was going to be just like a wrecking ball into the scene, but she has been more like an old Ford that you're stringing along.
I think this hero could be the Kano of Pro Tour 1, where somebody has figured something out and just wipes the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is probably the most scary version of Verdance is the one that can basically OTK you by pitch stacking correctly and putting healing pots onto the field. Utilizing rampant growth life 2, maybe even 3 times. However, she needs to decompose, which she could do defensively. But she also needs to set up some healing potions and extend the game, pitch no blocks back into the deck. So I don't know if she has enough time against
She's a little
the aggro
slow.
decks.
She says less tools than Florian overall.
Yep.
Like she has less disruption and defensive value to combat aggro. She has less aggression into Enigma. She has the combo kill, which is cool in some matchups, but I don't really think like as a slower ish deck, I don't really think she has an advantage over like Florian or New or something into what is good right now.
Sure. Just kind of sounding like somewhere here-ish.
Yeah, I think right about there. She's still doing some cool stuff. There's potential, but I think most people understand that she's not quite cracked enough.
So she can play some of the exact same power cards as Florian. So, I mean, as a baseline, like those are, Felling and Plow Under are good cards. Access to the chest piece for massive defensive value. Are Earth Heroes just missing something?
A good win rate. I don't know.
No, they're doing good stuff. I'm not sure what does keep them down, though. You're right. Something's keeping them down.
They're not like as consistent as you'd think they'd be.
Yeah.
They are inherently
you
slower.
can build them consistently, but then they're shit, or you can build them not consistent, and then they're not consistent. So
there you go.
Okay.
I kind of don't think Verdance will be more popular than Prism.
No.
I think they'll be like either the same or Prism will probably be more popular.
Yeah, right there would be
so I would like
perfect.
Scooter there, and then like maybe Scoot. I think Prism will be more popular than Dory, so I'd like Scoot her a little closer to New.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Something like that.
Okay.
All
right.
And
then there was one
former champ.
Arm.
All right, so KO. This is the most old guard of old guard that exists. Was great in the heavy hitters meta. Not great, but not awful in the MST meta. We've seen that a lot of people kind of are just... A lot of people that play KO are people that have been playing KO since heavy hitters, I've noticed. We've said before, Brutes, Guardians, Warriors have all kind of fell off since heavy hitters. And KO's no exception. He could do some decent turns here and there, but this is like the 5th best aggro deck.
Like he has the potential to race any of the aggro decks if it lines up. Not
but
consistently enough. Yep. He has some item hate that he can play in his deck to maybe give him an edge into Dio that other people don't have. I don't think his Enigma matchup is that great, but he can get there, playing really aggressively, throwing big numbers.
He didn't get a book ban. So
correct. He still does his
he's illiterate.
Blood Rush draw thing. People aren't really playing Balance of Justice quite as much.
Yep. So on paper, all these things sound good.
Yes, he's just like, he does everything kind of well, except for like the levels just like low, where a lot of other heroes have like really good strengths and bad weaknesses. KO, I wouldn't say KO's like particularly weak in any specific aspect or strong in any particular aspect. So he's like the strongest super mid hero you could play. So if you just want like the ultimate comfort pick, he's probably like that, but I don't think that's like a world caliber hero.
He's a workhorse, He's kind of like fine that he's gonna pump out decent enough numbers. He's got that IRA ability. He's making all these +1s. Like he's just a value engine. He's not doing anything too crazy, but he's not doing anything terrible either.
And I think people know that, so I don't expect him to be like crazy popular. I would probably expect him maybe similar to like New, but at the power level of maybe about Florian.
Florian, yeah, I agree.
Something like this.
Yeah.
It looks good to me.
Okay. All right, so we have finished discussing 31 heroes. Is there anything that now that we've kind of put everything on the board, is there anything that we kind of want to move around a little bit? Obviously, anything over here we're really not going to touch. They're just kind of overlapping. We're mainly talking about like this section here. Now that we put everything on the board.
Maybe Florian down power level a little bit more.
Reverse elevator.
Dash IO needs to go up a little bit.
Dash IO needs to go up a little bit more. Okay.
Now this is
Alright,
about like what I would say if you draw a box around like the what is that, 6 heroes? Yeah, Enigma, Viserai, Zen, Azalea, Aurora, Dio. Those are like what I would say if you ask me like what should I take to Worlds, I would say one of those is a good pick. And then I think New and Prism are both dark horse picks that I actually think are viable to bring. But you run a little bit more risk in doing so. And I think anything outside of that pool is you just shouldn't bring.
I hear you.
Well, okay. Sorry, Josh. You know what I mean.
It's all good.
That's the beauty of this game. You can bring whatever makes you happy.
It's a passion thing, right? You labeled it.
That's right.
Yep.
Passion. Passion indeed.
She would have been down here, but I had to be biased a little bit.
That's right.
Okay. Well, we've been going for over 2 hours, which that's just how it's gonna be, guys. Now that we have 31 heroes and a little bit larger of a team, and the metagame is actually more complex now, and I would argue more interesting and
Absolutely.
better. The book ban did quite like. I was kind of like a wait and see type of guy with it, and now that I've waited and saw,
I think having multiple viable aggro decks at the same time is pretty cool.
That's rare. We've never had that. So yeah. Well, World's going to be very, very interesting. In terms of the team, Aaron, Will, and myself will be in Osaka. So if you want to come up and say hi to us, please do so. I don't know if Aaron and Will have anything to give you, but I do. I think, Will, you're going to give people dollars, right? That's what you said you were going to do, right?
A crisp dollar bill to everybody who comes up to me.
And you'll get a sleeve from me. Aaron, I'm sure you can give them a spectral shield or something. Or
I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I'll give
Firm handshake.
A firm handshake and say, nice to meet you. But yeah, so 3 of us will be in Osaka repping TheCardGuyz. So yeah, if you're there, come up and say hi to us. I'm sure the rest of the team will be watching from over here in the States, keeping a track of the meta and how things are progressing.
Ooh, maybe we could do like a watch party on Discord or something.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm going to be streaming that mukbang to everybody, so keep an eye out for that.
You
What?
you do know mukbang is Korean, not Japanese, but yes, close enough.
That caught me really off guard.
Okay, so if you want to watch Will eat, we will arrange that as well. So yeah.
All right, real quick, what's everybody's pick to win Worlds?
I
Dorinthea.
mean, this is such a cop-out answer. But Enigma.
Did you say Azalea, Will?
No, Enigma.
Oh.
It's a boring answer, I know.
Zen.
That's a safe answer.
Zen? Okay.
Zen.
The world's luckiest Kano or Ocilio. Just gonna high roll everybody.
I think I'm gonna say Viserai.
Viserai. Ooh, I like it.
Yeah,
That's probably my pick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it's Enigma because I'm gonna win. But
yeah,
Right.
Well, in that case, it's Azalea.
if you somehow go,
You'll
then
beat
you-
a Viserai in the finals.
Yeah,
There you go.
Viserai will come in second.
Yeah. There you
Sorry,
go.
Brody.
Sorry. All right. Well, if you've watched this far, thank you so much for for tuning in. Here at TheCardGuyz, we have several sponsors. Just like to thank Dragon Shield, Fabric.gg, and Magnolia Games for making videos like this and trips around the world possible. Thank you so much to them. We have some links down below. You can check those out. We also have a Patreon. You guys can check that out. We also have a Discord that is very, very active as well. If you want to, connect with like-minded players, that would be a good place to do so. We're also all active on Discord and social media and all that. So if you have a question, don't feel shy. Just, send us a message. However, if you do message me saying, Josh, I don't have Heart of Fendel, what should I replace it with? I'm going to rage. So don't ask me that. I have been asked that hundreds of times. Please don't do that to me. So yeah.
How do you pitch stack in like Raiden Boltyn?
So you don't is the question. The answer. They're supposed to die before you get to your pitch stack, hopefully. Or
when is
shuffle.
it necessary to Beacon of Victory for 15?
Yep. Well, sometimes you need to play around double and movable when they're at 1. So sometimes you got to do that for 15. Normally I'd just go like 12, but sometimes you got to.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Sometimes you just got to play around the double and movable. So, all right, okay, guys, enough horsing around. This video has been long enough. Thank you so much for watching. We're out of here. See ya. Take care.
See you in Japan.